Yes, people. How's everyone doing tonight? Welcome to the Spurs Session. Big up to everybody in the chat. Big up to everyone watching at home. Please smash the like button. That would be great. The missus is out tonight, so Dan's going live. So welcome, everybody. Let's welcome in our guests. We've got a few debutants on the show tonight. Let's welcome in Elijah. How are you, buddy? Thanks for jumping on tonight. How are you been?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, debut on the channel. Hopefully there's more streams to come. But I'm great, man. I'm in a very good mood, man. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, man. Appreciate you coming on, man. Hope you enjoy yourself tonight. And Adrian, man. The dulcet tones of Adrian finally making his debut on the channel. How are you, buddy?
I'm fine. Thank you for the invite. I'm looking forward to the show. I'm sure it's pretty chill. Especially as like all our focus is really on the final now, so we're not in a sort of a, let's say, toxic mood at all. We're all in quite a chill mood. I think I've never experienced so much positivity around, that I've heard now, and I think that's mainly because both teams have been so poor this season. So but I'm looking forward to the show.
Oh, cheers, man. Thank you for coming on. Appreciate it. And yeah, look, it will be a chilled one tonight. A bit of reflection, a bit of looking forward, but look, we'll have a good show tonight. And Nige, how are you, buddy? How are you?
I'm good, mate. Thanks for having me on. Big up to you guys as well. And yeah, I got a bit of a bone to pick with Brian Daigle because he gave me a series to watch last night, Designated Survivor. So I've literally thought I'd watch one today, and about 7 hours later, I've literally gone through season 1. So yeah. It's a bit of a chore to tear me away from the TV.
Is it good?
It's excellent, yeah.
Yeah.
Don't usually like politics stuff, but
who's the lead in it? Who's the guy?
You got me now. The guy is in 24.
Yeah.
Kiefer Sutherland.
Yeah.
No, he's good.
Yeah, good stuff. We've got a couple more guests coming on shortly. Drew's coming on and Marlon should be joining us as well. So look, it's going to be a good show tonight. If you haven't subscribed, please do, to myself, all of us on the panel, Nige, Elijah, Adrian, and the other guys coming on as well. Be much appreciated. Now, let's say a few hellos to people in the chat. Let's see who's with us tonight. Let's get the comments up and have a look. Here we go. Edwardson, how are you, buddy? Thank you for joining us. Adrian said hello to the chat. Drew will be joining us soon. See you in a minute, buddy. Big up, Cookie. Evening to you. Oh, there's a few more coming up. Here we go. Nigel's bigging up everybody. Evening, Paul G. Hope you're well, man. Hope you enjoyed yourself the other day. I think that's you, isn't it, Paul G? He came on the show on Tuesday. Mike, evening to Mike. Good evening, chaps. How are you doing? Hope you're good, Mike. Evening to David Clark. Hi from Leicester. Some good stats. When Spurs' first choice back five play together, the results are play 20, win 15, draw 2, loss 3. So that gives us hope for the final on Wednesday. Interesting. Yeah, that is good. That is good. Evening to Crooks. Evening, guys. Bless up. Evening to Lisa. Good evening, guys. Hope you're all good. Much love, Nige, my little cutie pie. Hi, Lisa. Hope you're well.
Hi, Lex.
Well, so let's crack on. Now, the Spurs session, if you've watched it before, it's quite a chilled one. I have some talking points, but look, the show can go wherever it wants, really. We'll just get involved in Spurs chat and see where it takes us. Now, what's interesting, I was watching the Tottenham Aston Villa game on Friday, and I was just thinking, blimey, we used to be like Villa, didn't we, guys? Challenging for the Champions League, playing in the Champions League. And I was thinking, can we get back there? So that's where we're going to start tonight. Can we get back there, and how can we? Let's start off with Elijah. What's your thoughts on that, man?
Yeah, we can definitely get back there. I've been someone who's not defended the team. I think that's a bit too strong, but I've been someone who's in the face of everyone criticizing the players, which, to be fair, they deserve criticism. But I've always upheld that we have, in my opinion, I've gone through the leagues. In my opinion, we have the 8th best team. Because just by going by squad, we have the 8th best squad in the Premier League, in my opinion. So with a different coach who could probably utilize the players a bit better, I don't see why we couldn't be competing for, at bare minimum, the Europa League, let alone the Champions League, considering how this season's gone as well. Everyone's kind of in that sort of mix. Like even Arsenal up at second, big up Luke, but even Arsenal in second are kind of faltered, and now they're only a couple points ahead of third and fourth and all of them. So I assume that the Premier League competition will probably get more difficult again, because this has been a down year for sure. But I don't even think we need like a crazy rehaul of the squad. I don't think there needs to be like a massive overhaul and rebuild for us to get competing again. I think it's just a few good players, and then maybe a change up in the manager, depending on how people feel about the manager as well. But yeah, I think we're actually a lot closer than people think we are. Obviously, being 17th in a season is crazy, and to say that we could go from 17th to being in the top 8 is obviously, it sounds delusional, which makes sense. But considering we were 5th last year, 5th to 17th that's a crazy drop off in itself. So I would more so say that we're probably around 8th to 9th in terms of where the squad is right now, in terms of how we should be, in my opinion.
No, that's good, man. So you're quite hopeful then. Let's move on to Adrian. What's your thoughts on that?
I think 4 or 5 players will transform us. If we bring 4 or 5 in, you have to take and consider how many you think will actually be going, because you can't get rid of half the squad. Like a lot of fans out there would like to get rid of. You still got to keep a squad together. I mean, we know that Werner, Forster, Richarlison, Basuma are going, and probably Romero as well. So that's 5. So if it's on a basis of 1 out, you want to win Brang. Now, we don't have to do it. I mean, I would expect at least 3 of those signings to be money signings, and maybe a couple of loans to buy. I love the loan to buy. Try before you buy. I mean, without an obligation to buy, obviously. But it's being cagey. Well, no, I mean, it's the best way to go. And I think 3 or 4 would transform us. I mean, like, we've all been linked with Anderson, who I like in France, Brazilian centre. He can play centre back as well as defensive midfielder, but he's mainly as a right back for Monaco. And he's a tank. He's like your doggy on the side. I like Cardoso. He's developed well in French football as well as a defensive midfielder. But I would prefer if we got Fratesi, who hasn't been given much time at Milan. Right, I know he scored in the game the other day in the final, didn't he? In the semi-final. Yeah, and I would like. I'm a big fan of Vlahovic as well. I know others like Gyökeres and things like that. And people keep talking about wingers. I'm a bit like that with wingers because we've got so many, right? If we sell Solomon, fine. Then Yang Min Hook has to go out on loan. but you still got Son and Mikey more on the left. Richarlison goes, but he can play on the left. You've got Johnson and Odegaard on the right. Sonny reckons Odegaard is the most skillful player at the club. And as we see in players at number 10 against Villa, I'm wondering how we're going to go Wednesday. But I think 4 or 5 could transfer. Look, this squad is a good squad when everyone's fit. The problem with that is, like, with all the injuries, you don't get that cohesion and understanding between players that are regularly playing together alongside each other and getting used to each other's game plan. I think we've seen a bit of cohesion with the midfield, right? Before we lost Madison, Kulusevski and Bergvall, you couldn't make it up, could you? But my biggest concern with the team now is we start to see a bit of cohesion in midfield when he's blended 3 out of 4, is the forward line. We've scored a lot of goals, but it lacks fluidity. It lacks understanding up in that front line, doesn't it? I mean, it's amazing how we've scored these amount of goals, to be honest, because I just find the forward line's disjointed. Anyway, that's my little take on the beginning of the show. Back to you, Dan.
So Elijah is hopeful because we came 5th last season. You think we've got a good squad. So there's no reason why we can't get back up there next season. And Adrian, you think we need 4 or 5 signings and then we really could get back there. So yeah, interesting takes. Nige, what's your thoughts on it?
You know what? I'm not that far off, to be honest, either. I think we have a pretty decent squad when everyone's fit. I do think we lack in certain areas, obviously. But like Adrian, I think we could see 4, 5, 6 leave in the summer. And we are going to have to replace them. So I'm actually really looking forward to this summer and seeing what might happen. Because 100% I want to see a new manager. And I just think it's really hard to judge these players under this manager and under these tactics and this system. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens next season. Like you said, I think we're going to sign 5 or 6. Hopefully, at least 4 of them will be first team ready. You know, I don't want to see another 5 or 6 players come in and 5 of them be youngsters and only 1 of them, able to go straight in the first team. I think we have enough youngsters now. I'd like to see some experience, a few experienced players and a few players in their mid-20s to come in and make that first team pop straight away. But yeah, I don't think we're far off it. You know, like we said already, 5th last season, 17th. This season just unacceptable. But there's no reason. I said 7th at the start of the season, and I think we should be in amongst that anyway.
I use the term oven ready. We only brought in 1 summer, and that was Solanke. No one else we brought in. I mean, let's think. We had a bit of serendipity with Bergvall and Gray because they've turned out to be. We know they're going to be good, but it's the weight all the time. What are we, a training scheme or a football club? You know,
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, it's interesting. Cheers, Nige. And Cookie's come straight in there.
Yeah.
Doubting it all. So he says, I remember these same conversations this time last season about all these players coming in. Never happened, just youngsters and Solanke. Why will it happen this summer? Now, guys, anyone could take this. I have my thoughts on it.
Well, the rumours that we haven't got money, you have to consider the situation with the players we get out. If Solomon goes, I think we can safely say we're going to get a minimum of 15 million for him, right? Probably 20 million euros, probably about 17, right? And I think we're selling because we want to bring the cash in. Then you look at Basuma, and although I want him gone, right? He's one I do want gone because he says you'll see the new me and all this. Hang about, you've had all season to show us what you are, and it hasn't been good enough. So he goes, but you'd still get 20, 25 million from him because people in this league will buy him. And then people joke about Richie, right? Richarlison. Well, Everton are losing Calvert-Lewin. They've got no striker. They need a number 9. It's not because Richarlison would have a great value to us as Spurs fans. It's the fact that we know we're looking for a striker ourselves. And where are they? There aren't any out there, are there? So you will still get 40, 45 mil for Richie. So they're looking, 40, 20, 15, you're now at 75, and that's without selling Romero. And there's no way he's going for less than 60. So if you take 130 mil you're bringing in, without any money there is there, right, then you can put down payments on, you could put down payments of 20 mil on 6 players, quite easily. So I'm not with the the doom mongers that are saying there's no money there. I know Levy does it all the time, but I think it's quite a coy move to say your skin. You don't want to play your hand, do you? To other clubs out there, make them think you've got loads of money. So, and we'll see. You know, there are bargains to be had out there. You haven't got to go and pay 60 mil for a player. We've made that mistake with Ndombele. We bought Lascelles, so we bought Davison Sanchez. You know, and those deals didn't quite work out for us. You know, so the money's there, and the team. I mean, I expect us to have go into a new season with a new manager, but the recruitment team should have been looking at players to bring in all through this season. And it doesn't matter waiting for a new manager. The only problem with a new manager, you have to bring one in that suits the squad. And that's been one of the biggest problems with this club is the fact you should have a football philosophy that's the same from your under-9s right through to the first team squad. Of a style of football that you're famous for, like we were in the past, the Spurs way of playing. It was known as the Spurs way. And then when you've got that philosophy, if you ever change a manager, you bring a manager in that suits that philosophy. And it doesn't matter. And if he's not a world-class manager, that doesn't matter as long as he suits the philosophy. If he is a world-class manager, even better. But, you know, so that's just my take on that.
No, fair enough. Anybody want to add to anything?
Yeah, one thing I do want to say is in terms of managers and stuff like that, I know I just want a manager in that is obviously people say adaptable in it, but even like if a manager is just a manager and he brings his coach and stuff with him and the coaches are the ones that does the tactics and stuff, I'm not a fan of managers that have one specific system. And not to say they don't have a system they go to regularly, like if they have their default kind of formation and tactics they use, but I think it's important, especially nowadays, in having things that you can do in a game that can switch things up. And obviously, a lot of it has to do with the caliber of players that you have, because if you have a certain standard of players who can't, or they're limited in their skill set, I should say, then there's not much you can change up. But having a manager who can change things up is pretty much very much crucial in it, which is why I have confidence going into the finals, but it's been very surprising seeing, especially how we've done in the Europa League because of how things have been different in terms of the way we've approached the games, the way we've set up defensively. It's been very different. And that's been one of the fan base's main gripes on Ange, which is perfectly fine, in my opinion, that he doesn't tactically change things and all that kind of stuff. He has done it recently. And when it comes to coaches and then obviously bringing in players, it's important that we identify targets that it doesn't necessarily have to be expensive players. It just needs to be players that challenge the other competition in terms of profiles, because the more diverse type of play styles you bring in, for example, a fullback that can actually invert, because Porro and Udogie aren't inverting wing backs. If you bring in a wing back who can actually invert or specializes in inverting, that's already someone completely different to the play styles that we have. If we bring in an actual striker who can drop deep and play make, like an actual false nine, that's something that's counterintuitive to what Solanke does. Like, he can do it, but Solanke's a fox in the box kind of player. So if we bring in different players who are not bad, but they don't have to be world class, but if we bring in like a coach who can adapt and change, and he can use different weapons at his arsenal, and we have different players who can suit different systems as well, that can really help the dynamic offensive defense that the team can basically uphold. And that, I think that would help in terms of the wins as well, because if you can keep opponents guessing, that's how you win games nowadays. It's not just as simple as having the best players anymore, because if it was just about the best players, Man City would have an FA Cup right now.
Yeah,
you know, so it's not always about having the best players. It's more about the system and how you choose to attack.
So let me add this into it. So does everybody on the panel, people in the chat, whatever happens with this Europa League final, do you think Ange will be gone? Are you all in the same kind of thinking as me?
Yeah. So you've got three options here, and
I think so.
Ange sticks two fingers up the club, wins the trophy, and goes. Although he'd have to sort out a compensation package, right? Because he's got 2 years left. It's only 10 mil though. So, or Ange decides he would like to stay because of Champions League football, or Ange has no choice no matter whatsoever because the club have already decided to get rid of him, which I think they have anyway, personally. But you know,
do you think that decision's been made then, Adrian? That he's gone?
Yeah, I don't know if Levy would have spread the word to even members of the board, but I think that would be in Levy's mind. But it's still not easy, because if you sack a manager that wins a trophy, you know, I mean, that has repercussions as well.
Yeah, I think the fact that we're 17th kind of gives Levy that little bit of leeway to say, okay, yes, we've won a trophy, but 17th in the league is unacceptable for any team, let alone a team of our size. 17th.
But you've given
I mean,
Levy what he craves for, Champions League football.
wow, yeah, and again, that's an interesting one, because we're talking about next season and what players we might get and how much money we've got to spend. We don't really know until after Wednesday night, do we? Because we're a bit of a sliding doors moment, Champions League and all the money we could get from that and the players we could attract, or nothing at all.
But we're actually in a position, although we ain't selling Galacticos. I mean, like, obviously Romero's the best player we could sell for top money, but we've actually got players we can sell and get a reasonable amount of money for, whereas we haven't had that before, because the squad we had, the players we got rid of, were crap.
Who would you sell, Adrian? Is there people that you want to sell?
Well, we know we'll have to replace Werner and Forster. They're going anyway. So now you've got Romero, you've got Richarlison, you've got Basuma. Marseille's still got to pay 8.5 million for Højbjerg, and then you've got Gil. Even you might get 5 mil, but that 5 and 8.5 mil, then it's 13.5 mil before you start. If you get 20 mil for, like I said, when I went through the numbers before, we could quite easily rake in. You get all these rumours about clubs hovering over Porro and all that. He loves it at the club. He's going nowhere, right? And so, like, there are players, but you're going to get this. I mean, and it'll heat up after Wednesday, because win, fine, lose, and the rumours about players in our squad going will abound, won't they? People will think, oh, we'll cherry pick Tottenham. Good luck working. I'll give Levy one credit. Good luck trying to deal with him then. If you want to try and strip our squad, it isn't happening. And the young players all signed up on young contracts. And Mikey Moy signed one when he was 17 in August. And now, because as a kid, when you're 16, you can sign a 2-year scholarship and then a 1-year professional contract. So he's only got the 1-year professional contract. But now he's got through the first year. That means 2 years. And he's had 19 appearances. There might have been a fantastic amount of minutes, but he's had 19. So they can't say he hasn't been played. So they're going to offer him a new contract anyway, and you keep him. I mean, before last year, Chelsea even offered 10 mil for him, and the kid was 16 or 15 at the time, he is a superb talent. Yeah, so no, we can bring money in. So there are no excuses. It's just a question of we got to wait for somebody. I always wait. I do go and watch loads of videos when we're linked, but I usually wait until the stories gain gravitas, we're talking to their agent or we're talking to their club. Something a bit what we call solidity of specification. You know what I mean? Something you can grip and say, right, okay, now does the player want to come? Does he want to come? You know what I mean? Will he accept the deal or not? Speak to the agents. Are the clubs talking? That's the sort of thing I want to hear. Not all this BS. And I have to post a lot of this crap anyway, a lot of the times, because I think you got to post something in your other groups and things like that anyway. So, yeah, so we've been linked with, I think it was I was doing a count from the beginning. They started all this transfer stuff again halfway through the season. We've been linked with about 120 players, right? So take your pick.
I don't believe any of it. It's just clickbait stuff, isn't it? All linked to players. We don't even know who's going to be managing us in the summer. We don't know who's coming, who's going. I don't really believe it. Now, so the question of if we take it back a bit, Mark, was about what's going to be different. Now, there is this big money worry, isn't it? And I know you, Adrian, you said you don't think that's an issue. Levy came out and said that we're going to need to sell to buy. Now, obviously, if we don't make that Champions League and we win that final, then is it going to be a problem for, recruitment? Is it? It sounds like you guys on the panel, you don't think it will be. So Levy's saying one thing, you guys are saying something else. Where is it actually really at?
It's the quality, isn't it? It's the quality you bring in. If you're not in the Champions League, obviously there are top. Well, if we call them There aren't many Galacticos out there, in my opinion, but there's players that won't leave their clubs unless or leave where they are unless they're getting European football. So you'll have that issue. But if I haven't gone out and done it yet, I don't know if you two have, any of you guys have, but usually you can go and get a list of players that are in the last year of their contract, or those whose contracts are running out this summer. I mean, you can get, and if it means, you only get a couple in, but then you get a few loans in, and they are more of a stopgap or whatever, right? And then you go on and have a good season, qualify for Europe, blah, blah, blah. This is all like ifs, buts, and maybes. But if you do that, no, I don't see why. And
so why is Levy saying that then? Why is he? Is there truth in this statement of what he said, or is it just paper talk? Do we actually anybody know?
No, I think there's truth in it, because remember, we've got to pay the money for Danso up. We actually owe 337 million on transfer fees and whatever, but that's amortized. Now, I don't know how that is staggered, because you might have bought a player in 5 years ago, 4 years ago, 3 years, 2 years ago, and you have to amortize those deals. Let's reduce the payments over a 5-year period maximum. You can do it earlier. So I don't know what it is with the Danso deal. We might have to pay the 20 mil for it. Pay it. The player's good, right? Just pay it. He's good, right? He improves us, right? So you pay it. I don't know what other, out of that 337 million, who else we've got to pay. So there'll be a chunk to pay off from any of the players that make up that 337 million. If it was 20% even, well, 10% is 37, double it, 37 again. So now you're looking at, we're talking about paying off 74 million. Right, so that's what I'm saying. If you're bringing in that 130 million for them players, right, then you've still got enough money left over. You know, is it 25? You got 55 mil, right? You've still got enough money. You could put 10 mil down on 4 players. You could do that, but the catch is if the selling club demands a big down payment. That's the catch. You know, if we're going for Eze, right? Yeah. Palace will probably want the 60 mil bang in one lump. Well, that ain't happening, right? That's not happening. We're not in a position to do that.
Elijah, what's your thoughts on this? Levy saying we've got no money, and are you worried at all about the summer with the transfers?
Levy first said this back in December, before even the January transfer window came out. He was already saying about how in the summer they're going to have to sell players to buy players. So I'm not even surprised that it's basically been resurfaced now. But yeah, Levy's always been that kind of person to sell before you buy. Like he's always been financial based first, and which as a business person, I understand it. I don't agree with it, but I'm biased because I'm a fan of the football club. But yeah, when it comes to Levy, I don't even know if getting Champions League would change anything in terms of the players we go in for, because as much as the curse will be broken, you know, we finally won a trophy, we're in Champions League, I still think teams would be hesitant to join because of the league form, and also because like it's Tottenham still. Like we're still Tottenham at the end of the day, and like we've obviously won the Europa League, we're in the Champions League, but when we were in the Champions League, like year after year, it's not like we went and signed world beaters. Like we still signed, you know, Dele Alli's and Sissoko's and Lucas Moura's, and you know what I'm saying? Like we didn't sign anyone that was crazy good. Like they ended up being good, but they weren't world beaters or they weren't world class or anything like that. If anything, Poch made them world class, or them playing in the system made them world class, or at least borderline. So I don't think winning the Europa League will get us any crazy players. I don't think getting into the Champions League will really make us any better in terms of attracting players. I just think that in order to get the players that we could have gotten last year, we'd have to win Europa League though. So players like, for example, Eze is guaranteed Europa League now because Crystal Palace have won the FA Cup. So if we don't get into the Champions League, why would he leave Crystal Palace to come to Tottenham? You know what I'm saying? Like if he wants to play in Europe, because he's 27 next month. Like he's not a young. People might think he's young. He's 27 next month. He's not young. He's entering the apex of his career in terms of his prime. So he has to make a decision. Like he's got European football now. He's in the Europa League. Does he stay at Crystal Palace, or if Tottenham win Europa League, he could go to the Champions League and play for Tottenham? But if we don't win, then we can just chalk him off the list, innit?
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? What this game next Wednesday is going to mean to so much And we'll get into it. We're going to get into that game later on near the end of the show.
And just to add to my previous point, Dan.
Go for it. It's all right.
We are owed money on Kane, so it's not a question of we've all got to pay out. And I did that maths and we're owed money on Kane. We're owed money on Højbjerg because Marseille would be breaking PSR rules if they'd paid for him. So they put the payment back to the next season and the next year's accounts. And then we don't know what's happening with Gil. He's injured at the moment. So So how much we're owed on Kane, I haven't got a clue, mate. But that can be offset as well, So but I should imagine we've got to pay a fair bit of it off this amortise 37 million in a few weeks' time.
Cheers, Adrian. Let's welcome in Drew. Evening to you, Drew. Debuttant on the channel. How are you? Thank you for jumping on.
Hello, lads. I'm doing very well. Thank you very much. Stuck in a bit of traffic. Had to do a little work thing on a Sunday, but it is what it is. In my line of work, you just got to do what you got to do. But yeah, happy to be here. Happy to share the screen with these gentlemen. Elijah, first time meeting you. Nige, hello again. Adrian, not you again. And Dan, thank you very much for inviting me on, man. It's been too long. We tried to do it a couple of times.
Let's bring in Drew here. Have you been listening in? I know
I have. I was listening in on the car ride. Yeah.
What's your kind of view? Do you think? Let's start off with Ange. Do you think he will be let go in the summer, even if we win the Europa, or you're not sure yet?
I can see it. I'm kind of with Adrian. I can see it going one of three ways. I don't see him walking away because I think he's a little bit too proud, and I think he'll want a chance to take the squad into the Champions League.
Yeah.
And he's said in press conferences before that he hopes he's the man to stick around and, see the fruits of the labour in terms of your Bergvaus and your Archie Grays, that sort of thing. So I don't see him walking away of his own volition. I think Levy has honestly played it kind of clever because I think Ange has dug himself enough of a grave that if it got to the end of the season, even if we won the competition, if Levy sacked him and there was a little bit of like, oh, what are you doing? He can turn around and say, well, you guys were complaining for the majority of the season. Like, why all of a sudden? Like, you've been asking for his head. Like, now, why all of a sudden is that bad? So I think he's been quite coy with it. But also, I don't think he wants to unnecessarily part with another 5 million for a manager, because that also kind of reiterates that he's gotten it wrong again. So I genuinely think he'll stick with this guy as long as he possibly can. Now, if it gets to, 6, 8, 10 games into next season and it's an absolute car crash, then I still think he can go, well, and this is very dependent on Wednesday, right? This is kind of based on if we win the cup, right? He can give him another 6, 8, 10 games. He can buy a couple of free agents. He can buy some club signings. And he can kind of sort of sit on the fence a little bit, see how it plays out. If everything starts to sort of click and we hit the ground running and we're sort of, not amazing, but let's say we start the season and it's, 6 wins, 2 draws, 2 losses out of the first 10 or something like that. And we've actually, got, if there's a cup game's been played, we're through into the next round. And this is all hypothetical, right? And I am a little bit delusional, so just hear me out. But if it gets to that point, if it's like that, then Levy's like, oh well, my plans worked. If we're 10 games in, we're already out of 1 cup, and it's 2 wins, 2 draws, and 6 losses, and the crowd, everyone's murmuring again. Then he can go, all right, do you know what? I gave you as much time as I possibly could. Thanks very much for winning the cup. Done. And knowing Levy, he's probably, I would like to hope he's learned his lesson. I would think if he does that, he's going to have somebody in the pipeline. This is all, as I say, this is all hypothetical. If we get dumped out of the cup if we get dumped out of the final Wednesday, then he's absolutely gone probably next day, or he might even send him on his own plane home to Australia while everyone else comes back to London. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know. I can see it.
Like we win the Europa League, right? And then
When
Levy, we win the Europa League, and then Levy, he's not going to keep Ange for 6 months. I get where you're coming from, and I get the angle, but I think if Levy does that, he keeps him for the season no matter what, because then Poch is available at the end of the season, so it gives him another option. Because if you've got,
I'll tell you the problem you've got with that, Adrian. Sorry to talk over you, but the problem you've got with that is that if Poch goes halfway decent or anywhere close to doing anything in the World Cup, then I think it becomes too late for him to then come in as Spurs manager next season. He's going to have to come in the season after that, because pre-season will have already sort of started in terms of you getting your ducks in a row. You can't be managing the USA out there and then all of a sudden you're dumped out of there and now you're going to Spurs while potentially some of the World Cup's still going on, and then you're trying to get your ducks in a row. I just don't see that. I mean, we're disorganized at the best of times. That just sounds to me like an absolute car crash. You're just, I think, almost setting him up to fail at that point because it's too much of a rush. And that's just as I say, it's just my 2 cents.
Things will become a little bit clearer because things are about as transparent as mud with our football club after the final.
Right.
So let me flip the question. We can start off with you, and I've heard from the panel anyway. So again, you can add, guys, what you want to this. So Drew, what would you do then? Do you think Ange, I mean, I don't agree with this, but if Ange wins that Europa League, do you think he deserves to keep his job? What would you do? And you've already said what you're not sure what Levy would do. So what's your thoughts on that, Drew?
If I'm brutally honest, given the state of given the lack of squad management when we went into the season, given how horrific the injury cycle has been within the season, I think when all's said and done, it's really difficult, Dan. It really is, because the thing is I'm not Ange in, I'm not Ange out. I'm very much a splinter in the arse because I just want things to work, right? Yeah. I'm not really a pitchfork guy. I'm not going to hound the guy out of the club. He's got my backing while he's here, and that's just it. So if they can start to pull things together, and if he wins the cup and they genuinely bring in 3 or 4 pieces of talent that are 26 to 28 years old, that have got some sort of European pedigree, that aren't, for want of a better phrase, relegation fodder style players that have only got 40 games in their legs, have never seen Europe, so can't handle the rigmaroles of not only playing 2 games, but the travel and everything that's involved with it. Because it's not just like a lot of people, and this isn't to play, to any disrespect to people, but people look at 2 games a week and they go, well, you should just be able to play it. And if you're not used to even just getting up, going to an airport, sleeping somewhere else on a different pillow in a different bed, like it's just different gravy. And that's what separates good players from great players from world-class players. Being able to shut all of that stuff out, not worrying that, I mean, I know it's 5-star accommodation and all this, but it still takes a certain mentality to be able to pull yourself together for that sort of thing week in, week out. And if we can add a couple of bits of class to a couple of people that have been there and done it, so that when the players that haven't been there and done it are sort of looking around at each other, they can look to that sort of player and he can go, do you know, don't worry, we'll be all right. Like, they can just calm those sorts of nerves because it's a young squad. And my fear is that if we go into the season underprepared again, because we were never prepared to go into 2 cups and have decent runs, let alone 4. Like, I don't really know what we were thinking. We went in with, like, as Adrian said earlier, we went in with 1 player, and even that's 50-50 in the fan base, right? Whether he's actually good enough for Spurs or not. But we went in with Solanke, and then we bought a couple of kids and filled out the squad and promoted a player. And then, everyone gets injured. And not only are you not able to then train, the players that are training are training against the under 21s or the under 18s or traffic cones, because they don't even have players on their level to be able to compete within a training session. Like, it's just like the whole season has been, the squad has just been, it's been one thing after another. So I guess I'll cut it off now because I understand I'm talking too long, but I feel like, in my opinion, is that he deserves, if we win the cup, he deserves 8 to 10 games. And that's not 6 months, like not in the Premier League. 8 to 10 games gets us end of October, beginning of November, something like that, probably to a third international bloody break. And I just think meritocracy, and what does it say if we win? What does it say about Tottenham Hotspur Football Club and any other manager or player out there that by hook or by crook, through thick and thin, we managed to win a cup and then we still go ahead and fire the guy that did it? It would just be baffling to me.
Drew, but what's your hunch? Do you think he's going to be gone even if he wins it? What do you really think?
No, I think he'll stay. I genuinely think he'll stay. If we win, he'll stay. If we lose, he goes. It's as simple as that for me. Because Levy, there's no way Levy fires him if he's just won, because he's not going to part with 5 million if he doesn't have to. I think he's going to ride on the back of a win, and then if it goes tits up beginning of next season, that's when he'll cut it.
Okay. Elijah, is there anything you want to question Drew on any of that? I'll leave that to you. I'm just going to pop away for a couple of minutes.
That's all good. So I can't lie. Might have to ask Nigel and Adrian, because I don't really disagree too much with what Drew said. I'll be so real.
Big up, Elijah. I knew we were going to be friends.
Elijah, I disagree with some what Drew said. Go on.
I can't lie. I'll be real. The best thing to happen, I think, for the club is Ange to win the trophy and go in it. But if I wouldn't be opposed to Ange if he wins the trophy, how do I explain it? My gripe with Ange is, the reason I'm Ange out is because I don't think that his tactics, or at least his Ange ball anyway, is good enough to win any major honor. So if he wins the Europa League, then he's proven me wrong, because Ange, especially like early in the season, didn't change up his tactics at all. He didn't want to do it. He flat out refused to do it. He's never done it before Tottenham, so I didn't have any reason to assume that he would. But seeing Frankfurt and Bodo Glimt, he has changed it up. And towards the end of this season, he has changed it up a bit. Like, it's been more of a mid-block and not as much pressing and stuff like that. Now, a lot of it has to do with, obviously, the squad and the injuries and the fatigue and all that kind of stuff in the season. So I'm not going to put it all down to Ange, but he does deserve some credit for it. But one thing I will say is, if he does win this Europa League, then he's immediately proven me wrong, because my reason for being Ange out, again, is I don't think his tactics are good enough on its own to win any major honor. So if he goes and wins Europa League, that's a major honor that he's won. So I can't sit here and say that I don't think his tactics are good enough. I can't sit here and say his philosophy and the way he wants to manage is not good enough, because he's proven me wrong. So at that stage, I would give him the first month or two as well, the next season as well, and I'd give him this window. And again, like as Drew said, if it's not looking good, then we bin him and get someone else, because I don't think that I think the problem with not sacking him earlier this year, because personally I would have sacked him November, December times when we still had opportunities to get other managers. If you wait too long into the season, managers tend to get comfortable where they're at, even if it's in a bad situation, so they're not going to leave. So if you wait until past the January, or if you wait until the January transfer window, you're not getting a new manager in. So really September, October, November times, that is prime time to get a manager in the season. Like we saw Amorim leave Sporting. They were 11 wins out of 11, and he still left Sporting to go to Man United. So it can be done, and I think Tottenham can do it. There are managers that Tottenham can get. I don't know which is the best for Tottenham, but they can get a new manager if it's not working out. But sorry for the rant, but I don't have too much to disagree with with Drew about. I'll be real.
I do. Where I disagree with the 8 to 10 games is then if you get rid of him, you're back in the same position, get reset. If you're going to give the manager a job, right, give him the pre-season to work with a squad, like, and give him the contract to do the job. If Ange goes, get rid of him now at the end of the season, whether he wins it or not. And so you bring someone in who's starting afresh. Otherwise, you've got 8 or 10 games in the season. We've got another reset. We're waiting again as Spurs fans, as we always seem to be waiting for divine intervention more than anything else. So I'm just not comfortable with, like, I just think that would be regressive, and we haven't even took one step forward, and that's it. I mean, like, but Drew might be right. That could happen, right? We don't know, right? So I'm not for that. And
I mean, that's a perfectly logical take, Adrian. I can completely get wanting to sort of, you know, it might just be that regardless of whether we win or lose, like, even if we do win, it might just be a logical conclusion at that point. And you know, it might just be all parties might just go, do you know what? It's just gotten a little bit toxic for your sake, for our sake. Thank you so much. Here's a little golden handshake. Here's your bonus. He's not going to have trouble getting a job, right? He's your Europa League winner.
Where I agree is the fact that if he wins it, it gives Leeds the excuse to keep Ange because he hasn't got to pay out the 10 mil left on his 2 years. So, and Ange, although I jokingly sort of hinted at, he could quit, stick his 2 fingers up all the crap he's put up. Yeah, but then you're kissing away 10 mil. You know what I mean? So like you're not going to do that. They always work it out. Gagging clause, and we'll give you half the money or whatever, and leave you do something where he saves at least £1, right?
Let's bring in Nige here. Nige, anything you want to say about this conversation, and then also Johnny in the chat. Do you want to answer this?
Well, I'll answer the first thing first. Personally, I think Ange needs to go at the end of the season, regardless. Just simply because I think we need to give a fresh manager a pre-season and a window. We know that Ange likes his specific players, and you know, my concern is obviously I heard rumours that Eze was offered to us last summer, and Ange didn't want him. How true that is, I don't know. I just don't trust Ange to bring in the players that I think will take us forward, personally. So if he wins this competition, fantastic. Handshake, off you go. You've done a great job. You won us a cup. But he's not good enough, is he? Let's face it. So for me, I'd get rid of him at the end of the season and bring in a fresh manager that gets a whole pre-season, gets to lay his tactics down before the season starts, hopefully get a few of his own players in. And as for Johnny, don't waste more time with that. Yeah, exactly. We haven't, you know, as much as we're in a cup final, which is fantastic, we have regressed over the last 2 years. You know, we all want to see us going up, don't we? And we've just been, after that great start that we had, you know, those first 10 games, it's got worse and worse.
Still a record.
I said, I don't want to be too negative because we're in a cup final, but, you know, for me, if we win, if we lose, I think we need a fresh start next season. And that's not just with Ange, by the way. I think we need a fresh start throughout the club. You know, there's a few heads that need to roll.
Well, he's been unlucky, though. He's not clueless, though, is he? Let's be fair. I mean, like, if you judge him fairly in a balanced manner, I always like to take the balanced perspective of all things in life anyway. But he starts last season, got the record, 8 wins, 2 draws, great. VDV gets injured, he's out, right? The first wheel falls off. Madison does his injury, like, he's out. Matty Cash does Bentancur, he's out, right? Basuma has 3 suspensions, which I think is a disgrace for a footballer. Romero has 1 suspension. Those players go off on international duty in the fan base. Oh, they care more about their countries than they do their clubs and all that. And they come back and we finish 5th. Well, I thought that was a good finish considering what I had to put up with. This season, in his defence, I mean, he'd already reached a tipping point with injuries, even when players were going to come back. Then you're asking, in a modern game now, back in the day, it might take you 5 or 6 games to get your mojo back, and the game was a lot slower then. Today's game is so fast. It's that split decision between the ears, what pass to make, you know, to get that football IQ sharpness back. You're not getting that on the training field. Fitness, you can be as fit as anything. Like, so it's even slower. And all we've seen, really, all I've seen is not too much more not too much fluidity in a forward line. I've seen between Maddison, Decky, Bergvall, and Bentancur, when you're playing three out of those four, I've actually seen a bit of cohesion, but it's all come a bit too late. And unfortunately, I think Ange will go. Yeah, I mean, he's done well wherever he's gone. It doesn't mean to say that everyone has a good year every time they start a new year. I just think he's at the perfect storm of what could go wrong has gone wrong and got even worse, right? So I have sympathy for him. I find he's a very likable manager. I know he bristles, but I don't want my manager full of smiles after we've lost a game, laughing and joking. I don't want none of that crap, right? I don't even like all this shaking hands crap with the other team when you go out in the field. You should be giving them the eye like boxers do when they're in the ring and they face off. You know what I mean? And like there should be a dividing wall in Spurs. One team comes down one side, you come down here. You sort of shake their hands or slap them, like, you know what I mean, and give it that, because it's too, it's too wussy in my opinion.
Let me come in here now. Look, tonight I didn't want to make this whole show about Ange and Ange. I'm exhausted by the season. Absolutely exhausted by it all. And I'm looking for Wednesday. I'm looking ahead at that. I mean, I don't need to tell people where I stand. I've had enough this season. This has been the worst season in memory with all them defeats, those underperforming performances. It's been dreadful for me, especially coming onto YouTube this season. I've been complaining, moaning, slagging off Ange left, right, and centre, and I'm absolutely exhausted by it. So my take on it is that 21 defeats is unacceptable. I just lost myself. Where have I? My screen's just gone then. Sorry, guys. Yeah, I've just had enough. I have had enough of this this season and this manager. Now, the really frustrating thing for me is that I know we had the injuries. I get that, and that's going to impact performances. Why didn't he change the tactics? Why? I just don't understand, because we can see that he can. We've seen it in the Europa League. We've seen it in some Premier League games. I just think... But the thing is, though, if he wins that Europa League, how can you argue it? It wins us a trophy. No one's done it, have they? For 17 years, we've had Conte, Mourinho, Poch, and this is such a tough question, and it's a testing one. I want Spurs to win on Wednesday, and I will be happy for Ange. I will, because he's had so much what you want to call it, scrutiny from everywhere, the fan base, the media. Everybody has really, not everybody, but a lot of people have really scrutinized him as a manager this season. And if he does win it, I mean, he's going to stick two fingers up at so many people, right? Because he says, I always win a trophy in my second year. But then if I kind of be a bit sensible with my thinking and take that aside, that's emotional stuff, right? That's like, put that aside. 21 league defeats is unacceptable. It is. And he could have done more to get us more points, to make us play more respectable. Get some kind of something. So look, I do want him gone either way. I mean, for all parties, if we do win, then it's happy fans, happy team, happy manager, happy board. And then it's up to the board then to make the decision what they want to do. Yeah, it's out. It's up for us, is it? The decision's going to be made whatever, either way. And if it is next season that we keep Ange to see how he gets on. Again, what concerns me about that is that we've seen what's happened this season. What is going to change when it comes to, unless our recruitment's suddenly a lot better, what is going to change? He is so reliant on the likes of Romero, Van der Ven. He can't play his system at all without them, and certain other players as well. So I just think if we don't change and we keep him on, we're going to probably see much of the same, and then we're going to lose out on the choice of manager that we got more choice in the summer rather than waiting 10, 12 games into the season. So for me, we need to let him go. But look, anybody want to add anything onto that? Please do, or not. We can move on to the next.
I think there's been, from some fans, there's been this like what I call perception deception regarding Ange Ball, because you alluded to it just there, Dan, about the fact that we changed. I mean, against Bodo Glimt, Frankfurt away, but we also went away and won 2-0 at Brentford, and we stank the place out of West Ham, and we love stinking it out of there.
But we can do it, Adrian. So why didn't he do it more?
And it's been overstretched because people want to keep using the same stick to bash Ange with. But in his defence, when I turn around and ask people what's Ange Ball, they can't say. They say inverted fullback. I go, really? Your doggy doesn't invert. Porro does. He's the only one who inverts. And apart from that, if you're talking about playing a high line, when is the last time we've been consistently in a run of games been parked on the halfway line? We haven't. And we haven't for months.
Yeah.
We haven't for months. And like so it's not a question of the high line being caught on the break and conceding a silly goal or something like that. It's not we haven't really played the high line. We've pushed up at times, but we haven't stayed there, parked there and all that. And even last season when people said Ange Ball, your doggy likes to overload on the left rather than come inside. He does come inside sometimes, but I mean cut in. But it's Porro always the one that inverts. And apart from that, playing a high press is no different to most of the other top teams in the division. They all play it. Liverpool, Man City, they all play it. So I think he's been like not fairly. I mean, I've critiqued him on his substitutions and game management games. We've done it on the show with Drew and all that at times when I think it's deserved. But I also think he's coming for a lot of unjust criticism as well. But if he wins the trophy, tenuous Freddie might stay next season. Tenuous though.
Adrian, call it out. Do you think he will stay? What's your hunch? I said the same to Drew. What do you think?
Everything points to him going. Win or lose, everything points to him going. But this is Spurs, right? This is Spurs, all right.
Right? Do we have to redefine what a successful season is, right? Because if you break it down to its bare bones, we're essentially one game away from winning a cup, winning silverware, and qualifying for the Champions League. So if I'd have said, and I know there's this all if, buts, maybes, and bollocks, right? But I feel like everyone to a man, ladies and gentlemen in the chat, if I'd have said to you beginning of the season, we qualify for the Champions League and we win silverware, you wouldn't have questioned how that happened. Now, the one caveat I will add, and as I've said before, I have the benefit of being able to see here. I mean, I spend a fair bit of, money throwing it at the club on stupid bits of clothes that I probably don't need to be wearing at my age. But I can completely understand the home fan that turns around to me and says, F you, Drew, you haven't spent your hard-earned money traveling there and watching them absolutely stink the place out. Yeah. And I have absolutely I've got zero argument for that. I completely agree. The one thing I will say, and maybe this is going just a little bit too philosophical, but this is the only, let's face it, this is all a business now, but this is the only situation that I can really think of where a business, from our point of view, is still somehow, we're still emotionally tied to something that really is just there now perpetually to make money and keep itself going, right? But unfortunately, we're in a situation where we're emotionally invested. So we spend our money and therefore we feel that we have our right to have our say. And that's perfectly acceptable.
True.
But I also sit here and go, do you know what, Drew? If you really, really were that pissed off about it, you'd stop going on the Spurs shop.
Stop going.
And you'd stop bloody buying those 140 quid fucking tracksuit bottoms. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Because I sit there and I just and maybe that's just one of those, I can hear people going, "Oh, Drew, that's you don't get it," and I get that maybe I don't get it, but that's just how I'm. I guess for me, I have to break things down logically. Like I'm emotionally invested during those 90 minutes. And my God, I mean, I've broken toes on a radiator for this team. And it was Daniel bloody Amakachi that did it. And it was Everton. And it was that semi-final. And I tell you what, I still, to this day, live down at that moment. But so I'm emotionally invested for when I absolutely need to be. But I can also, I guess, I have the benefit of being able to just watch it through a screen and say, do you know what? I'm just not going to buy the shirt this year. Whereas, the hardcore fans that really do go and spend the hard-earned money and have to go and sit and watch that shit show. I mean, there's a part of me that thinks if you don't like it that much, then don't bloody go. But I also get that you want to go. It's not that easy just to put it down.
I've got to lob this banter grenade at you, right? I've got to lob it at you, right?
Have it.
What about all those fans that were going on? I don't care if we win his 17th this next season as long as we win a trophy. Now
I was one of them.
17th, win the trophy, and they still want to sack the manager. So
well, I was on a show this morning, and somebody did point out, like, there was a lot of people that said, they'd take a trophy in 17th. But now they're kind of changing their tune. And I think it might have even been Sean. He turned around and said, like, what did you think 17th looked like? Like, take it, like, what did you like actually break down that statement? You would accept winning a cup and finishing 17th. Like, what did you expect it to look like other than anything but this car crash? So, but it's all very good. Well, looking at Dr. Hindsight or whatever you want to call it. I'm not about to snipe people for, just wanting the best for the club, man. I mean, that's all we want at the end of the day, right?
Look, Nige, you wanted to come in, mate.
Yeah, I was going to say this is why this Wednesday is so important. It is a massive sliding door moment. We win. We are in the Champions League. We won a trophy. People forget that we're finished 17th in a couple of months. That'll be forgot about. We've won a trophy. But if we don't win, it is our worst season ever, since we went down. So it is just a massive
Nige, can I ask you, Nige, just because you're chatting, do you think winning this cup would mean more than if we'd have won Champions League in 2019? Given where we are as a club at the moment and where we were then, because I'm not entirely sure we deserve to be there. I think we were luckier then to get to a final. And I think getting to this final, it looks like we've meant it more on the pitch.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, I said, I was on a show last night and I said that when we got into the Champions League final, it was almost like our final was the semi-final. It felt like we'd won already just being there. Whereas this year it feels different. It feels like this is our time. We've got into other finals recently. Like I said, the Liverpool Champions League final. Liverpool's so much better than us. The Man City League Cup final, Man City were flying so much better than us. Even the Chelsea final we lost, Chelsea were flying, winning leagues. But this final just feels almost, I don't know whether it feels like we've got a better chance, but I just feel this is the one we have to win. We cannot lose this final. It's so big.
I mean, we're also, let's face it, we're playing a car crash of a United team. Let's not beat around the bush, right?
Aren't we?
Yeah, right, exactly.
So, guys, look, as fans, we all think and feel how we want, right? There's a lot of people who have wanted Ange out all season. There's a lot of people still behind him. There's still people behind him now, and a lot more than we probably realise, because we're in this kind of, I don't know what you want to call it, YouTube world but we don't know really how many people are still behind Ange. They're not singing him out in the stadium. You still see them behind him, but surely fans can't be happy with their level defeats and the poor performances. Oh, it's just such a tough one, guys, isn't it? Like, what's going to happen Wednesday? It's absolutely crazy, isn't it? What a position to be in, that this awful season Ange has had, but he could win a trophy. You could not make this stuff up. It is madness. But then you look at the Europa League run, it's been fairly straightforward, a couple of tricky ties. But if you look at our team compared to those teams, we should be beating them, whoever the manager is. Now we're against Manchester United, and we will get to that near the end. But it's a winnable game. They're
big up Sean
great.
Butler. Sorry,
They're
just seen him in the chat calling me out.
Big up, Sean. Look, it's madness. So look, let's move away from the Ange talk, because we could go on all night about talking about Ange. Look, I want to know how you guys on the panel feel. It could be anything. It could be Ange, of course. how do you actually feel right now about your club? Let's start off with Elijah. After the season we've had, how you're feeling? Where's your head at?
How do I feel about the club? I don't really feel anything about the club, man. I'll be real.
Dead inside.
I guess you could call it that, yeah. But
That's not
you know
nice,
what it is?
though, Elijah. That's not nice to feel like that, man.
It's not nice. Yeah, you're right. You know what it is, right? It's gonna sound crazy, innit? But I don't love the club as much as most people would love the club. And like, I support Tottenham. I love Tottenham, but not to like Tottenham could fold as a club tomorrow and I would be okay in it. Like I still have my life to live. So, but it's one of those ones where like I started supporting Tottenham when I was young, and well, youngish, like 12, 13. And I've just kind of been supporting them ever since, really. Like it hasn't really been anything to it. I've just been supporting Tottenham. I've been following Tottenham for as long as I can remember, since my preteen years. So it's not a thing where obviously when I'm watching the games, I want Tottenham to win and I'm passionate about it and all that stuff. But like when I step away from my laptop after watching the game, like I just carry on with my life, you know. So it's one of the ones where I try my best to look at things as objectively as possible, I guess is the way to look at it. But I completely understand where people who hold the club like in admiration, because there's things in my life that I hold to such like a high standard, and for some people it's Tottenham, and I fully understand it, which is why I try my best to be empathetic and to not demean people who think that way, because that's stupid. Everyone loves the club here. Everyone in the chat loves the club. We all want the club to succeed and do well. But it's just as time has gone on, like I think as I've just gotten older, the loyalty will never leave, but the how do you say, like the way you fantasize about it, yeah, the passion and the fantasizing love and all that stuff, that bit's kind of waned. It's like when you marry your sweetheart, you know, that 10 out of 10, 30 years down the line, like she's still a 10 out of 10, you still love her, but it's not like when you just got married, innit? It's almost like a regularity kind of thing. You get what I'm saying? It's just a regularity thing. Like for me, Tottenham is just part of my life now. You know, it's not, I don't have the boyhood love that I used to have. I still love it, but it's just kind of there. You know, it's just something that I have to deal with, you know, the ups and the downs. So that's kind of just how Tottenham is for me. And like, it's annoying to talk about at times, especially this season. But as soon as I get away from my laptop, I have my family here. I've got my job. I've got college. You know, I've got stuff I'm doing. So I don't have time to be moping around about Tottenham all the time. And I just kind of move on from it.
With me, it's totally different to you, Elijah. I respect your opinions, obviously, but I mean, with me being a Spurs fan, living in the area, a mile and a half from the stadium, when I was a child watching the double side play, I mean, it was either you supported Tottenham Hotspur or it was the orphanage, right? So didn't have no choice in the matter, and then it becomes a contract for life, and I've still got the same fever in me. I get it when I go to every game. Although I will not renew my season ticket if we don't win this final, because I'm tired of waiting. My angst has come out. And I've kept pretty calm all through that this season, actually, as has Drew and others as well. We take a more sort of overview of things rather than like, you know, jump from one toxic debate to another toxic debate. I'm always like, let's see how this plays out. Wait a bit, see, keep calm. Yeah, but no, I mean, like, I love the club to. Actually, I could quite honestly say I'm obsessed with it, to be honest with you.
Fair enough.
And as I'm retired now, the obsession will go on because it gives me something to be obsessed with as well. And something I love. I love the club. My Spurs core has always been that, which is the way I was brought up with the club, was that you supported every manager and every player at the club, whether you like them or not. I mean, there's been many players I didn't want. I wanted the club to get rid of. The sooner the better. There's managers I didn't want at this football club. But while they're there, I'll support them. It's just the way I am. I won't boo the players. I don't get up at the ground and say, stand up if you hate Arsenal, stand up if you hate West Ham, stand up if you hate Chelsea. I don't sing the song, Sol Campbell's song. I don't sing any of the hate songs. But by God, I will get up and shout Yid Army. And I don't care if it's politically correct or not. I'll be up there shouting Yid Army and doing every Yid chant and every Yid song there is out there. And that's in me, because to me, back in the day, and I was younger and running with the pack, wrong sort of people, right? When we were confronted with people coming to the stadium making hissing noises like gas because they're anti-Semitic or they were racist, which was mainly West Ham, Chelsea and Arsenal. Chelsea had these headhunters. A lot of them went to prison. They also had a group called Combat 18, and the words the 18 were the letters in the alphabet. The letter 1 was the A, the letter 8 was H, so it's for Adolf Hitler. So we had loads of runners there. You know, it was madness back in the day. It was totally mad, out of control before the game was cleaned up. So, and all those experiences, and watching us win 2 UEFA Cup finals at the stadium, being at Wembley, beating Norwich in a League Cup final, things like that. They just like, I'm lucky because I want these younger generations to experience a win on Wednesday, to know what it really feels like. You'll be euphoric. You'll be absolutely.
I'll be there. I haven't seen Tottenham lift a cup.
Yeah, you know. So my passion is undying, but like I say, I won't renew my season ticket if we don't win this trophy. Because even
that's massive, man. How long have you had the season ticket for, Adrian?
It's been on and off because I was a foot soldier. I mean, I used to have a season ticket in the old West Stand. They used to have an enclosure in front of it, and I used to have a season ticket. And now I had a season ticket above the shelf and the high area above the shelf. And I used to stand in the Park Lane with the tribe because you were the Park Lane mob, right? So, you know, I've not always had a season ticket, but like, you know, but I've always gone to games, you know.
That makes sense. One thing you said that really struck me is how you said that you basically like as a child raised in the Tottenham man, so you have to support Tottenham, and that's something that to be fair, I'm the only Tottenham supporter in my family. So even then, it's like most of my family support either Arsenal or
Liverpool.
Liverpool.
The difference back then was if you were in London, you supported a London club. You didn't have Sky, so you could watch Barcelona win everything on Real Madrid, and then you could run around with a Barcelona shirt or whatever and take the easy option. Or when Liverpool, Man United got the best pedigrees in the Premier League or winning stuff, you went and supported them. You're in your area. So if I was in Tottenham, you had an ask, okay, fair enough, you're in London, right? But now it's different, isn't it, now in the world? It's so diverse out there. You'll get fans
now it's very different.
from all over the place. Like most of them will probably pick a team that wins stuff, right? So they won't pick us.
Adrian, let Elijah finish because he was, I think
Elijah.
you were mid-flow there, buddy.
No, sorry. To be fair, it's always fascinating to hear everyone speak, because especially since I'm meeting you all for the first time on streaming it. But no, it's just in terms of like I guess because I wasn't raised to be like any type of football fan. I enjoyed playing football. I didn't really watch football like that. And yeah, because most of the family is pretty much Arsenal, because for as long as I've lived in England, I've always been in like North London, north to like Westish kind of London, that kind of area. So for as long as I've been in London, I've always been around like Arsenal and Chelsea people and that type of stuff. No, you don't really see Tottenham fans that much out there wearing, because obviously when you're in North London, you want to be wearing Arsenal kits just so you don't get shouted down and insulted, man. It's especially when you're going to college, or when I was in secondary school, it always goes straight to football, man. What team do you support? Do you watch football? You do? What team do you support? I support Tottenham. The jokes will ring in until you graduate from year 11. It's just how it goes. I couldn't do nothing about it. It is what it is, you know. So
sorry, man, that's terrible.
It's just the way it goes, man. It's just the way it goes. And obviously, the big up Poch in it, because he kind of made it a little bit bearable, because at least we were decent in the league and we were competing for titles here and there. So at least he made it somewhat okay. But I'm so happy I left secondary school after Poch left, because if I was still in secondary school, we had after the Nuno days, and especially the Ange days. Oh my god, I feel bad for anyone that's a Tottenham fan during this
kid
season.
Especially.
Yeah, man, I feel bad for any Tottenham young'uns like in secondary school in year 10 or something going through this season, 17th. They must be getting bullied. But yeah, I've just had no one really Tottenham around me, so I've just kind of been an isolated Tottenham fan for the most part. For as long as I've been a Tottenham fan, really, until I started doing YouTube and stuff like that. So I don't know. I kind of disconnect from it easily in a way.
Well, I want to go to Nige, and then I'm going to say how I feel. But go on, Nige.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, this season's made me pretty empty with Spurs. It's got to the point where obviously we concede, we lose. You don't really feel anything. But I'm very much the same as Adrian. Tottenham are my passion. You know, I'm not a season ticket holder. I don't go. I probably go a couple of times a season if I can. But you know, I look forward to Spurs playing. Tottenham are my everything. And this season has just made me feel totally disillusioned with the club. But like I said, we're in a cup final. Listen, I went to school in the 80s when, you know, you either supported Liverpool or most people supported Liverpool. But actually being a Spurs fan wasn't too bad because we won a few trophies in the 80s. But my son, he's 20 and he's never seen us win a cup. You know, he was 4 when we won the League Cup. He can't remember it. So I want us to win trophies for people like my son who hasn't seen us win a trophy yet. I want him to feel the glory and the joy that I felt in the 80s and the 90s when we were winning things.
No, it's good stuff, man. Like for me, football means so much to me, man. That's just what I do. That's all I want to read, watch. And when my team's doing badly, I mean, I'm not happy. I'm not a happy guy. I mean, life, you know, life's tough, you know, and that's kind of my getaway, isn't it? Like coming onto YouTube, talking about it. It's just great fun. But when your team's doing that badly week in, week out, we've got used to losing now. Losing is the norm this season, and that is unacceptable, isn't it, really? It's not good enough. 17th in the league. So for me, I just hope things get better. And I think they will. You know, if the manager changes, I think we can go again. I'm not too sure how quick that will be. And, you know, and then I'll take you guys back to the beginning of the discussion where, you know, where we watched Villa play on Friday night. And, you know, that's what they're doing, what we're used to do, right? Challenging for the Champions League, getting in the Champions League. And we can get back there even under Levy. We've seen it, right? So we can get back there. But it's so many decisions have got to be made right in the summer, isn't it? With recruitment, Paratici's coming back, we hear. Vinay's coming in, possibly a change of manager. Who's going to stay? Who are we going to sign? How much money we've got? It's just, we don't know really, do we? But let's hope things get better because I can't go for another season like this with all those defeats. It's just unacceptable. We're not used to it, are we, guys? You know, when was the last time we lost 21 games in a season? Can anyone remember? Adrian,
We haven't.
Possibly.
We haven't.
But there you go. That just says it up. We're just not used to this, are we? And whatever Ange how he's managed the team, the injuries. Look, come on, that squad is better than that league position. It is. I think so. But look, guys, thank you, guys. That was really interesting to hear where you all stand and how you feel. One more question before we move on to another question. What has been the hardest thing? You've probably kind of answered it. So let's just go round it. Let's start off with Drew. What has been the hardest thing supporting Spurs for you this season?
I would say probably, the borderline inevitability of knowing, especially during that phase of having to wheel out the same sort of 12 to 15 players, like the Liverpool, Aston Villa back-to-back knockout in the Cups. Like that was a real hard one to take. I mean, I understood it just because everyone was dead on their feet, and especially the Villa game, like everyone was doubly dead on their feet. And they're having to deal with the fact that they'd just been smashed by Liverpool. So that was a real trying moment. I think the most enjoyable time, I think, obviously in recent memory for most of us, is I think back end of Bale being there and giving us his last season, the goals that he gave us. And then when Poch came in, and that's sort of almost like the opposite of the inevitability of now, knowing that probably if we go a goal down, it's likely that the game's up. Like we might have a little bit of a comeback, but the writing's kind of on the wall. when I was waking up back then, it was like you were so excited to watch this team. You were so excited to watch Walker and Rose bomb up and down the wings, and we just had such a solid defense. It was just almost like I've not ever had that feeling as a Spurs fan that we were so close. So that's almost compounded it, really, that we could go from that to where we are now in such a short period of time. So yeah, I mean, just as I say, the sort of inevitability that I got to a point where I just felt like it wasn't going to get any better, and then I've really been disappointed. The one thing I will absolutely throw at Ange, well, it's tough. And maybe that's the wrong phrase. I've been really, really disappointed, and I'm sorry for those who have heard me harp on about this. When there were 33 points left to play for in the league, and we had a good chunk of our players back. And admittedly, they still had a couple of games where they needed to get back into it. But I thought we were still in, obviously, Europe. There was still 30 points to play for. We were in a position where I thought if we'd managed the squad a little better and done some better rotation, but I say that, what do I know? I'm not a coach. I just think we had the potential to get some pride out of this and at least look like we were able to battle on a couple of fronts. And I guess the most disappointing thing to me is that we've really kind of shown how poor we are as a squad, and we've sacked off the league, in my opinion. And I just think it's really, really disappointing me because I thought we had a few more players that were kind of a bit better than that. Like, I don't know why. I think Romero, when he came back from injury, could have played a couple more games. And not that he's going to make a difference. Do you know what I mean? But I just feel like a few more out there just could have kind of sacked up a little bit and just given a bit more. And I just felt like they really haven't. It was like all the eggs in the Europa League. And there's something to be said for winning games and getting some consistency. And that's, as I say, that's been the most disappointing thing. Week on week, like I literally said, I think we can go unbeaten for the rest of the season. And then after that, we proceeded to lose and draw and lose. And it's not what I want from my club. Like, I'll accept it for one season. Like, it just happens to be that we're in this situation where it could all be sort of just wiped under the carpet essentially for a minute. But I just, it's been horrendous, Dan. It really has.
It has been. It has been, man. It's, great stuff, man. Thank you. Elijah, what's been the toughest thing for you, man?
Toughest thing for this season is Tamworth. Tamworth. That's the toughest thing this season. Tamworth, and just 100 minutes with a starting team minus Werner and Mikey Moore, took our own goal for us to go 1-0 up in it. I've never felt so dejected in my life watching us play than Tamworth. And that's all I can say.
That was low, wasn't it?
That was when I became Ange out, man.
What was that all about, man? That was, oh, dearie me. That was terrible. That was horrible. There weren't just that. There was defeats against Leicester, who hadn't won a game for ages, beat us, and then didn't win a game for ages.
Yeah,
Everton
was bad as well. 3-0 down at half time.
And this is what I mean. You see, like, Moyes go back to Everton, and they're above us. Wolves bringing a new manager, they're above us. I know we've had a lot of injuries, but come on, guys, come on.
Yeah,
it's dark days. I was going to ask Adrian, but he's popped off. Nige, what's the toughest thing for you?
Simply just feeling no connection to the players anymore. Maybe apart from Van der Ven and Madison, I just, I used to watch Spurs and I used to love the players that played for us. Now I just don't feel any connection to them. And I don't know whether that's just because we've been really poor this season or whether I don't know. I just don't feel anything at the moment. I feel pretty empty. I'm hoping that love for Spurs comes back again Wednesday evening, and I'm sure it will. It's been a case of, obviously, when you get used to losing every week, you kind of expect it. So you're watching the game, you're not feeling anything. And when you're conceding goals, you don't feel nothing. You don't, I'm quite an emotional fan. And, when I'm watching the game, I like to swear at the TV and give the players some, give the manager some, but I haven't even been doing that recently. So, yeah, it's just simply the fact I just don't feel a connection with the team anymore. But I'm hoping that changes.
Yeah, it's not good, Nige. Not good. And Adrian, what's been the hardest thing for you this season?
Well, it's been the injuries. I'm a season ticket holder. I've got to go and watch a team that's not been able to perform as a cohesive unit across the ball. And we've looked disjointed at times because we've always had to make changes. And it's just the way it is. And mind you usually find that one team in the Premier League each year goes through, a pile of crap, and it's just our turn this season. And any manager who takes over now is lucky in one way because he can't do any worse unless he doesn't win a trophy after we nick this one on Wednesday. So, yeah, it's the injuries, really. It just killed it for everyone. And, even players coming back, I thought we'd gone past the tipping point by then. By the time the players come back, it was too late. So, yeah, injuries did it for me.
Injury. Look, for me, it was just the amount of losses and not looking forward to watching my team play, knowing that we're probably going to lose. Frustration, anger, just seeing the same thing going wrong week in, week out, getting beaten by everybody, not having any confidence in my team. And yeah, it's been bad. So bad. I can't wait for it to over. Yeah. What's that, Adrian?
I would like to add as well. Part of the reason with the season ticket issue and all that, I will renew it if we win it because I'm not going to miss out on Champions League football. That would be the main reason. I'm sick and tired of watching robotic football. Every team playing the same. We even see it with Man City yesterday in the cup final. Wingers getting down, not taking players on. No one. I mean, you beat low blocks by having shots outside the box, late runs in the box, wingers taking players on and winning free kicks around a penalty area. For City, for all the quality they've got, right? Some coaches out there need to rub a couple of brain cells together, have a bit of mental masturbation, and try and get something going on the field that we haven't seen elsewhere, right? Because I'm no coach. I was involved with a team years ago, but I'm no coach or nothing like that. But I can come up with loads of set plays. I'm sick and tired of seeing when we do throw-ins. Our throw-ins are an absolute disgrace, right? You can't tell me. Chris Cowlin laughed at me once a couple of seasons ago. We were drinking a gilpin, and it was going. I was going we should be doing throw-in drills, and he laughed. No, we should be doing throw-in drills though. We should be better at free kicks, right? We should be better at corners. I've seen signs of it where you can tell when they've worked on something in training, But you just taking a free kick an example. What is the magnetic attraction if you've got to try and bend the ball around the wall all the time? Is it part of a Sky agreement or something, right? Because I think 1 in 16 has scored that way. What happened to the old-fashioned tap to the side and one of your players with a hard shot comes in and blasts it, yeah? What happened to the chip over the wall? What happened to the slide rule pass down the side of the wall? I just find it robotic, and I've been going on about that for about 2 seasons now, right? So,
Well, Adrian, you've seen the club year on year out, so you know what good football is, and this is not good football, is it?
No.
Ange?
The Spurs way was always, and it was known as the Spurs way, pre-double side under Arthur Sidney Rowe and all that, winning the second division and the first division title in 2 years. And that all come from going back too long there, Vic Buckingham, and I could go on, but I won't. And it was always a fast, attractive style of football that you played. So that is what the football philosophy of this club should be, from the under-9s upwards to the first team. And if you know you're playing that way, no matter what manager you ever bring in, you bring one in which suits your philosophy. It's not a question of people like, what if we get a manager now and he plays wing backs? Or he's got to change. No, if you've got a philosophy at your football club, the way you play, the style you're known for, right, then you just bring a manager in that suits that style. He doesn't have to be world class, and he just has to suit your style.
So, Adrian, who do you like in the Premier League? How they play right now? Who do you like watching, other than Spurs?
If it was like him watching, it would be Man City. They haven't played that great all season, but they go about it the right way.
But Ange's system's very similar, right? You know,
Any high press is very similar. Any high
Yeah.
press is very
so
similar.
what is it? What's the difference? Man City, what do they do better?
Well, one, they've got better players to start off with, right?
Yeah.
So
Other than that, because
Well, I mean, just to sort of butt in real quick. I mean, we saw how they managed to fare with them losing their linchpin in midfield at the beginning of this season. I mean, they fell off. Let's not kid ourselves. They've had a horrible season. Do you know?
to
So,
their
I mean,
standards,
their
all their
injuries.
standards. Yeah.
And that's the thing, when you lose key
And how many?
players-
I know you don't want to keep harping on about injuries, Dan, and I get it. I hate the excuse as well. But how many did they have compared to us? Do you know what I mean? I know the fall off's pretty drastic, but the difference, they're obviously qualifying for Champions League, but they still had a hell of a wobble when they lost one midfielder. So I'm just.
But guys, is Man City on the panel? People in the chat, is that the football we want to see at Spurs? That type of football?
I would have
I like
liked
the
to
way
have seen.
Bournemouth play.
Oh yeah, go on.
You know, Bournemouth play good football. I think Palace play good football. You know, it depends what you want, doesn't it? I mean, I want
Yeah, I
winning
don't
football.
think we were ever going to say that, right? Palace actually play pretty attractive football at the moment.
What I don't get, right? Now we know. I know people have moaned about Johnson. I didn't want him at the club when he came. Now I've warmed to him. You can't ignore 17 goals and his assists, right? You can't ignore that. I don't care what you say, right? But so Ange playing so obviously they're told to hug the touchline. Because when he doesn't come back, you don't tell me. I mean, Solanke would come back, Kane would come back. They'll all come back and help out. You can't tell me those wingers aren't told to stay out there and hug that touchline as the outball, right? What I would like to see, if you've got someone like Solanke who's on the penalty spot, I'd like to see the wingers play more narrow. I'd like to see both on the edge of the penalty area, because that's where they're trying to get when they're out wide anyway. So if you're there in the first place, you save yourself half the trouble, right? So I would like to see the wingers in. I'm not worried about Porro inverting, because he's good and he's very good at crossing the ball. He's technically superb, questionable defensively, right? But he's good. So okay, and then like play. I just think if you bring the wingers in, which are on the corner of the penalty areas, which is the closed space, which is known as the closed space, which is what Decky always used to do when he used to make more incursions into the box than any other player in the league, right? Because you're narrowing the gap between you and your main striker, right? Which gives you a better chance of passing the ball more accurately and getting a shot off yourself, or giving the ball to the striker to get the shot off. And I want to see, like, was it all this one striker up front rubbish we're watching nowadays? This is why people are hovering left and right around the penalty area when the playing teams are playing each other.
So Adrian, are you saying you don't like any team in the Premier League that play other than Man City? Is there anybody else that you like, which we could be like?
Look, when I'm watching Spurs, I'm watching every game, 38 league games, all these cup games this year, 50 games, whatever it is. When I'm watching Man United, Man City and all that, I'm seeing them twice when they play us, and I'm not always in the mood to watch football.
What match of the day? Do you watch match of the day?
No, I don't watch match of the day, actually. No, I don't. Right? I'll watch clips. I'll watch clips of games afterwards, maybe short clips, right? But no, I don't honestly watch other teams that much. That's what gets me when Spurs fans say, they always tend to say, all the players in the other team are better than players in our team. And I'm thinking, well, how many times you watched highlights of them? You don't watch them other teams as much as you watch us. And now you're saying their players are better than us. And then when they come and play, it was, all this about Villa, they're that good, they're that good. They came to us, we spanked them, right? And like, you know, I mean, and we're going away to Man United and Man City, and we're going to get hiding, and we spanked both of them, and we spanked Everton. So there is something in this team that is good, but I don't like this robotic football. I mean, it's so samey.
Is that because of Ange then? It's Ange's robotic football you don't like, Adrian. Is that right?
I don't like what I like. I said, when I watch a video and people say, what are you looking for a player, Age? You go and watch those videos, all those videos you watch, and like, they always look good in the videos. I said, I know they're going to look good in the videos. That's not what I'm looking for. My prerequisite of, say, a 4-3-3, the front six, is I want players with vision who move the ball quickly, who can make things happen. They're my 3 little markers on. Defenders is different, positional play, blah, blah. I could go on about that. Right. But that's what I'm looking for. But and I don't like lazy football either, where like a player's got a ball, the next player's 10 yards in front or 5 yards away, and 10 yards away from him, say, and they don't use the space. I was taught to use the space as a right back. I was crap, by the way. But I mean, I was taught to use the space. But if I've got space, I'm using it. I want as many touches of the football during a game as I can get, right? So like, I'm using it. But I just see this, and it's like switch to the left, switch to the right, switch. And statistically, the longer you do that, you lessen your chances of scoring. When you're around a parrot, you do it quick. I liked it when Oda was saying. This was years ago. He said it when he was manager of England or Chelsea, or he said, or when he was at Swindon or whatever it was, and he was saying like, I want us to get the ball to the opponent's penalty area in a maximum of 4 passes. Right? And this football today, I mean, but if you're brought up with it and you don't know any different, you're not going to think any different about whether the game can be much better as a as entertainment.
So, Adrian, obviously, we could be taking another Premiership manager in the summer, right? We have been linked to the Fulham manager, Palace manager, Bournemouth manager, Brentford manager.
The manager at Ajax now.
Yeah. You said you haven't seen enough of these teams.
I would take Xavi tomorrow.
Okay. So you wouldn't take any of those.
Concern is like managers. Bringing young players through, right? So, and Xavi did that with Lamau and all that. He did it under financial constraints at Barcelona and all that. So he did it. I get. Look, there'll be loads of managers who want Spurs job. All this bullshit, they won't come to the top. That's just utter rubbish, mate. There's loads of managers who take it. I mean, they're looking at, like they're saying, Glasner, because he's won now with Palace, he's become the hot favourite, isn't he? Because he's won the FA Cup and he won the UEFA Cup with Eintracht Frankfurt as well.
I just got to kick back on that a little bit, Adrian. You say, we'll get any manager will come. The last 2 times we've tried to get managers, it's been 3-4 months wait, talking to this guy, talking to get that guy. This guy don't want to come, that guy don't want to come. Like, I think we run the risk when you say, it's Tottenham, anyone will come to us. I think we're starting to run the risk of not being the Tottenham that everyone will come to, unless you just want to start throwing money at people.
We would get a manager, if not anyone, but we would get a manager because there are those out there that will jump at the chance to manage Spurs.
I mean, I'll be the manager. You know what I mean?
So, guys, let's just change it to go forward before we move on to the Man United game, and maybe if we got time for your guys' questions. What do you want to happen in the summer? Say the manager's changed. What do you want to happen? Who wants to take it? Anyone first? What do you want to happen in this summer regarding the manager? Who do you want? Recruitment? Anything? What do you want to see this summer?
Are you basing are you telling me that I have to have a change of manager?
Yeah, just for the question, Drew.
All right.
Just do it just because it is obviously could happen,
right? Right. I'll give you a quick run for it. Just to go back to your initial sort of question, I've got a love-hate relationship with Villa because there are times this season where I've really, really loved the way they play, but I can't stand Aston Villa, so we'll just throw them out the window. I think Nottingham Forest are a little bit too soak up pressure, counter-attacky, kind of a bit too Conte-esque for me. I like Bournemouth, to Nigel's point. I really like Bournemouth. I like the way Brighton play. Kind of expressive, fast-paced, a little bit down your throat, like the way that Klopp used to set up Liverpool. I kind of want the rock and roll, but I want it. I want us to be able to know when we can put our foot on the gas and when we need to put our foot on the brake. I want us to be a clever team that can pick our moments. Like you've got, I get Adrian's point. It's such robotic football nowadays. It's kind of these passages of play and somebody's got to be there and you knock it to this guy and there's no real sort of cavalier they're sort of few and far between. You get these cavalier players that make stuff really kind of happen. But I think you do need a couple of players, like I said earlier, that have sort of been there and done it, that can really help the team to breathe. Do you know what I mean? Play expansive football, and when the need is, and tell people, right, we've got them on the ropes, go for it. And when they can say, hang on a minute, we need to be a little bit tighter. Because at the moment, I just don't see that in this team. I know we've got these leaders and this bloody, this group who, by the way, I've mentioned this before. Maybe I just don't follow other teams enough, but I don't know any other bloody teams that keep on going on about their bloody leadership group so much. Like, oh, we got this player and that player. Like, I don't care. Just get your act together. You know what I mean? You're intelligent guys within reason. Like, you're obviously very good at what you do. So I don't know. There seems to be this naivety or this inability, or it's sort of fractions. And maybe the thing is that maybe you just need a little bit more time with this group of players, with this manager, to get it going. I don't know. Like, I really don't. It's been so disjointed the last sort of 18 months that there is some sort of argument that just let it be, add a couple of more oven-ready bits, and maybe we see what happens. Now, obviously, there's the argument that no, it's going to be a shit show anyway, so it is what it is. But for the sake of the question, I'd really like to see. I think Glasner has proved that he's got some nous. He's been there and done it. He's a bit older. I think he can handle some pressure. I think Iriola's a little bit too wet behind the ears. I'll give him credit for what he's done, but let's face it, there's been some times this season where he's snatched a defeat from the jaws of victory, and he's just shown his naivety, I think. I think Frank's a little bit too a manager that would just come in and kind of steady the ship. I don't think he's going to progress you, and I don't want to do him a disservice, but I just think he's just a steady Eddie, and I want somebody with a little bit more get up and go. I'd take Xavi, but I think if we're talking Premier League and if Glasner leaves Palace, I don't know. It might just be that he caught lightning in a bottle, but I think he might just be the calm enough head that would bring stability, but still be able to instill something. You know what I mean? His own style. De Zerbi, I think, is a little bit too hot-headed. I think him and Levy clash after a couple of days. I think he's a Santini. I think he's gone in a couple of weeks. He's like, do you know what? I can't deal with this guy.
I mean,
Glasner. The Ajax manager, Ferrari, haven't we been linked with?
No.
Scott Parker, Southgate. My God.
No, I mean, Glasner, for me, what he's done at Palace, look how well they've been playing, man. Look what he's done. They're strong. They can attack. Glasner, for me, I think we've got the players to play a system.
Get me right. He's won Europa. Did he win the Europa League with Frankfurt as well?
Yes, he did.
Right? Yeah. So he's got experience in Europe as well. I think he's got just enough of been there and done it, but just enough kind of still willing to like play with the system and kind of play. He's got that philosophy where you can see it's his style, but I think he's still prepared to cater to the opposition every now and again and kind of adjust as needs be. Whereas I think too many coaches nowadays, it's just like, well, I'm going to do it my way. And if it doesn't work, we'll lose 2-0, but next time we'll do it my way. I'm just like, we need a little bit, a sprinkle of pragmatism. Like, no, let's not go full Conte, but let's have a little bit of, let's be a little bit clever, you know?
So let me just recall. So you want Glasner? Yeah, Drew.
I'd do a Glasner. I'd do a Glasner.
You want some more experienced players coming in an attacking sense. Yeah, they're ones that are going to impact the team attacking to improve us, because we are lacking, I think, in some areas. Okay, good shout. Elijah, what's your thoughts on the summer? What do you want to happen?
These are one of the things where I have no thing I can add, or nothing. I say that's probably the better word to use. It's just because I don't watch enough football. I'll be right. I don't watch enough football. I watch Tottenham. That's pretty much it. I don't have enough time to watch other teams. Obviously, Glasner's going to be the talk of the town because of what he just did. And before that, it was Iriola. I'm not the biggest fan of Iriola. I think he's just too similar to Ange. So it's like, why sack Ange and then get the Spanish Ange? You know, it don't make sense to get the Paella version of Ange. I'd rather.
So what's the
keep what we
difference,
have.
Elijah? Why are Bournemouth doing so much better? Because they've had injuries. I know they've had no Europe. What is the difference between Ange and Iriola, in your opinion?
I think it's really just that. It's just less fixtures. I think if Bournemouth get a European spot, then next season they'll look maybe not 17th bad, but they'll definitely be mid to lower table if they make it as far in Europe as we have. Because remember, we made it to a semi-final of a Carabao Cup, and then we made it to now the final of the Europa League. So it's not like we've been bounced out of the first round of every cup we've been in, and we're still 17th. Like we've made two semi-decent runs or two decent runs into two cup competitions. And that's so the amount of fixtures has added up. So I think that's mainly the reason. But in terms of obviously, I don't know, man. Yeah, as Adrian said, everything's just kind of almost stagnant in terms of the way most teams play. It's robotic, I guess, is the word Adrian used. That I do agree with that to a sense. It's why it's like it's a breath of fresh air, like watching like La Liga now and again, because it just seems a lot more open, a lot more free in it, especially if I have to watch Lo Celso and Brian Hill cook in La Liga and they can't play for Tottenham. It hurts my head sometimes. But for the summer, I would just rather get in different profiles of players. It doesn't have to be world-class players because you don't need a starting 11 of world-class players to win a trophy. Like you could have two and then fill the rest with competent players who have different profiles, and they can just transform your team. Like if we get like a touchline creative winger, that's something we don't have at the club right now. That would automatically improve us in terms of our dynamic offense or attacking.
Ryan Shirky all day long.
Someone like Shirky, yeah. If we get
but he's 20, and we're saying no more young players.
we need to just get players who can just do different things. That's the main thing for me. A player like Palinha, who is out of favor at Bayern, he's a destroyer 6. We don't have one of those at the club right now. So getting someone like that who's starting caliber, he was obviously doing great at Fulham. So his Premier League, will his game translate? Of course it will, because he was playing at Fulham. So he is someone we can just pay the money for, and he would offer something completely different. Obviously, players like Eze, something that we don't have at all. Obviously, if we don't win the Europa League, he's not going to come to Spurs. So hopefully we can win the Europa League and then get Champions League football. Maybe that's enough for him to come to the club. If he does, then that's something completely different. So I'm not really going to say, we need to spend 70 million on a world-class player. And I'm not going to say all that because not only will Levy not do that, it's just not realistic. I don't mind paying 30 million for a player. I don't mind paying 35, 40 million for a player. As long as it's just not a carbon copy of Brendan Johnson on the right wing, I'm fine with it. As long as it adds something different and their Premier League caliber of player, I don't mind not having to break the bank on a world-class player because that's just not what Tottenham have ever done as long as I've been a fan of Tottenham. We have never signed a world-class player in their prime for as long as I've supported this team. So I'm not going to start begging for it now.
So Elijah, give us 3 positions you want as a priority for this team. What you've seen this season, what positions do you want filled? Don't have to name players. You can do. You said Paulinho, which is a good shout.
Yeah.
Where is the biggest issue with this team right now in regards to creativity and defending?
Right wing, definitely need a player. I would get Mbuemo, but we need a right winger 100% because we have about 17 left wingers, and whether they're good enough or not, the fact of the matter is the only right winger we have is Brendan Johnson, and I've heard he's not even a right winger. So we basically have no one at that right wing spot. So we need an actual right winger. A midfielder, whether it's a holding midfielder, any type of midfielder. If we're having a new manager, then we'll definitely need a holding midfielder because I'm assuming a new manager will play with a holding midfielder. So yeah, Palinha, someone like that who will come in, that would be a great signing. And also I would go for a centre-back because now that Jed Spencer's, even if he's not the main choice fullback, he is now actually getting minutes instead of being frozen out by every other manager. So now that Jed Spencer's come into the team and he's established himself, the demand for a fullback isn't actually that high anymore. And we're not going to be selling Porro or Udogie. They're not on their way out the door. So I'm not really in too much of a rush to get another fullback. Of course, I'm not a fan of Archie Gray at right back. I think he's horrible there. But if in terms of his development, if they want to try and make him a right back, then they can do that. But to compensate for Romero not being here, obviously we've got Danso. Depends on how everyone on the panel feels about Dragishin, but especially for Romero going, I don't want to just replace Romero with Danso. I'd rather Danso be the third option to come in and interchange with Van de Ven and a better centre back. So my free position would be centre back, CDM, right wing.
Thank you. That's a good shout. People watching, please make sure you smash the like button. Please subscribe to Adrian and Elijah, please. That'd be much appreciated. And Nige as well. I'll put their links up in a minute. Adrian, over to you, man. What do you want to happen in the summer if there is a change of manager? We've heard that you want Xavi coming in. What else do you want to happen this summer, Adrian?
I would take Vanderson of Monaco tomorrow. He's a tank on the right. He can also fill in at centre-back and DM. I think we will get Johnny Cardoso because we've got that deal with Lo Celso, with Real Betis, and we can get him for 25 million euros, which is 21 mil. And he bossed the midfield in a game against Real Madrid. He's good. He's good. He's a good player. Looks good. So, but I actually would prefer. I know because you could buy him tomorrow and sell him on for more money. He's developed that well, right? On our agreed deal. I'd actually prefer Fratesi. Drew's probably sick and tired of hearing me going about these players. Right? And I would like Vlahovic as well, because now Moani's at Juventus. He's not getting the game time. And I like the Serb. But it's like all players when it's subject with a fan base. Half the fan base love a player, half they hate them. And they always have to have a player that they really hate as well. You know what I mean? So, like, yeah, that'd be free. If I was going for cover at centre-back, see, the issue is if Romero went for good money, like you say, you've got Dragisson, too small a sample. He's been good, bad, and indifferent, right? Then you've Davis is still there, VDV is still there. You've got Danso, I think has been a good buy. He's been a good buy, those four. And then you've got the three kids. You've got Vuskovic, Dorrington, and Phillips. I would expect Vuskovic to go on the pre-season. I think he scored 7 goals this year, got a few assists for Westerlo. He admits he's not the quickest, but for someone who's 6'4" or something, you'd think they'd have the stride to be quick. So, but then again, John Terry and Michael Dawson weren't exactly quick either, and they survived all right in the league. So they could read the game well. So, and Vuskovic does look a generational talent. What I've seen him, he's got something as a defender. He really has. Just wish he had another yard of pace, but he might get that. He's young. He might get that. So if we were going for a centre back, I'd look to the left side. I would like to go and get the captain of Feyenoord, David Henko. I think it's pronounced Hensko, though, the C, because he can play left centre back, left foot, then play left back. And you wouldn't be spending a fortune. I mean, you might have to cough up a bit in wages for Vlahovic, but you could get those, and they would transform us. So that would be 4. If it was 5th, I would look for another left back as well. But and I don't know. I wanted Dorgu and Eze last transfer window. They were I'd have been happy with getting Dorgu and Eze. And Dorgu's got to Man United. I don't think he's tore up any trees yet. I still think he's a fantastic talent. But so it'll come good. Yeah,
what about the kind of Lange and Munn, and do you want them gone?
I don't know what's happening there. We've got the rumours.
I think Manet's gone, isn't he? They've already confirmed Money's going. So it's just whether Lange stays or not, I think.
When was that? Was that official?
I think it was official a few weeks ago.
Was it?
Let me double check. You carry on. Hang on.
Double check it.
Yeah, it was reported in the Mail, wasn't it? Yeah.
If Paratici comes in, I think he's going to get the new role of technical director instead of DOF, director of football. It might be the Lang. I heard someone said to me that Langer would stay on and deal with the recruitment of young players like Bergvall, whereas Paratici would come in and deal with more oven-ready players.
So we would oversee it, yeah? Paratici would be the one at the top.
And well, you've got
Vinay. It'll be Vinay.
Vinay coming in.
Then
if Scott Munn's going.
In regard to
Yeah,
recruitment, I meant.
And he got Edo in and all that at Arsenal, didn't he, when they were doing well? So, yeah.
Okay.
Go on,
So
Dan.
Vinay is recruitment. Vinay is everything, basically. Is that?
See, the thing is, like,
so.
it doesn't matter when people pay. Oh, we get a manager and wants to get his players in. Hang on a second. The managers do not sign these players. They never do. They're always club signings. You've got 2 scouts here. You've got Rob McKenzie, who's chief scout. You've got Max Legger, who we took off of Bayern Munich. He's the first team scout. So when you go to these agencies where you get all the data and information, they come, then the scouts go watch the players. And what we need to see now, especially after Ndombele, when you're doing a due diligence on a player, do it on his mentality and his attitude and what he's like and with a team player and all that, rather than you end up with someone like Dembele who probably just takes the money and runs, you know? So that's got to be sorted as well in future deals. And if you've got a player with a poor attitude, don't bring him in. Don't bring him in. Simple. You know.
So, okay. Thanks, Adrian. And Nige, what's your priorities in the summer, mate?
Oh God, so many. I would love to see a 6 come in. I would really like to see a top class winger come in. I think we've got, things been said already, we've got 100 left wingers. We've got Johnson, who's not really a winger, but he does get numbers. So it depends what you want from the right. Do you want numbers or do you want a player that's going to beat his man? But I would like to see a winger that gets me off my seat. Personally, I'd like to see another striker as well. I think centre back's a difficult one because it depends whether we get into the Champions League. I think if we don't get in the Champions League, Romero goes. I don't think we need another centre half because we only have 1 game a week. And I've been banging this drum for a couple of weeks now, and to be fair, he's done okay the last couple of games. But I would probably not this season, but maybe next season, I would like to see a better goalkeeper. Because whereas I like Vicario, I do think he's suspect. You know, if we are playing out from the back, if we're going to continue to do that, I don't think he's the best at playing out from the back, and I do think he's a bit flappy. But he is a good shot stopper. I'd be looking for someone stronger, maybe.
I think Odebert will be the solution on the right wing. As Sonny said, he's classed as the most skillful player in the squad, right? And just tried him as the number 10 as well. Now, I don't know if he'll do that Wednesday because we're all guessing. We've got all these injuries and yet we can't pick the team, right? We know 9 starters. We know 9 starters for Wednesday, but we don't know what the other 2 will be. You know, you got your back 5. You got Bentancur and Basuma midfield. That gives you 7. You got Solanke and Johnson. That's 9. And the other 2 will be what decides how we set up.
Yeah, let's save that, Adrian. Let's save that for the end. But no, it's a good point. Okay, let's go for me, and then we'll go to the panel questions. So it all depends on the manager who's coming in. Really, for me, depends what manager is, who he wants, who he wants to keep at the club, who he wants to sell. He's going to have a good look at it all, won't he? Hopefully, if he can come in summer early, so he's got the whole kind of transfer window ahead. If it is someone like Glasner, we're going to need cover at centre back. We're going to need a DM, and definitely something in that forward line, something exciting. We really do need something. I don't think our wingers are good enough. I know Wilson has got potential, but we do need an Mbeumo or somebody like that. And also probably a striker. We probably need another striker with Solanke as well, because I think Solanke's been okay this season, but you know, we'll see what he does on Wednesday. You know, it could be his time, you know, because that's the biggest game of his life, isn't it? So let's hope he comes up with that important goal. Okay, guys, let's move on to the questions. Who should we start with? Let's start off with Elijah. What's your question for the panel?
My question is, ironically enough, it's not actually about the club Tottenham. It's more about I guess the fan base is a way. But the question really is have you guys on the panel, and I guess chat can answer it as well, has there been times where you've gotten bored of just Tottenham YouTube? Because I can't lie, it's been a couple times where it's gotten really boring. just like watching Tottenham YouTube, and it's to a point where it's like it's times where I have to just step back and just kind of just not consume any Tottenham content at all.
Elijah,
because I
who do
want
you
to-
watch? Who do you watch?
I have to watch everyone because I have to get everyone. I literally do a news. I did. I mean, I still do it now and again, but I literally did like a Spurs news show where like, I'd basically talk about like I'd wear like my old hat when I used to have dreads, and I'd wear like my other glasses, and I'd be like a news reporter, and I'd report on basically on like all the funny stuff that would happen within the community. But it got to a point where there was actually nothing happy about the community at all. Like
Is that
everyone
because
was
it's been
miserable.
so bad though, Elijah? The season's been
Yeah,
dreadful.
that's why it's because the season, the way the season's gone, it really crept into the content, and everyone was just kind of just, they were all kind of just like this, just a little bit down in the mood, and there was nothing fun going on. And there are times where I just had to step back for a bit, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna have to leave it alone and let everyone kind of reset. So it's kind of nice, like everyone just being kind of like optimistic about the final, and they're like, yo, we had a final. We're actually looking like we could win a game and win a trophy. So it's nice to everyone to kind of be back in it. But for a while, I was getting bored in it. So as I wanted to ask.
So what's the question? Do we all feel the same?
Yeah. Have you guys ever felt like bored with Tottenham YouTube at times throughout the season?
Okay, let me think about that one. Who wants to take
This,
that
I'll tell
one
you,
first?
there's been times where I've been on 3 shows a day back to back to back, and I've honestly wanted to hang
That's a lot.
myself afterward. Like it's just
Yes.
I've like struggled, like not known how I've managed to, because you obviously are cautious that you don't want to just be talking the same thing over and over and over and just repeating yourself. So you do, yeah. There's been a couple of times where it's just been draining. That on top of the fact that you've watched the game as well. Do you know what I mean? So yeah. There's times where I've felt like I've just needed to log off and just completely go and do something different. So I have a room downstairs with like a baseball bat and some broken items where I just go and break stuff, and then come back and cook dinner.
Elijah, bored,
So,
and
yeah.
it's never a dull moment supporting Spurs, is there? if we're not talking about the latest PR disaster, the next one's about to appear, isn't it? I mean, like it's like it's never ending. I think that's why I noticed it last season as well. We got round about here again, and everyone was going, "Oh, I'm exhausted. I can't wait for the season to end." And this is the drug that it is, the football drug, right? Then you get to the season ends, and suddenly you've got 12 weeks and 3 days, 87 days of a transfer window, and you don't know what to do with yourself because you haven't got that adrenaline rush because you're not talking Tottenham, right? And then any amount of crap that's produced by low-tier media on News Now and whatever, you're willing to post because you just want something to talk about, basically, because you've missed it already. I don't miss Talk Sport or Talk Shite Radio, as I call it, or Sly Sports. I don't miss them, right?
Sly Sports.
I miss my club, or as Deji Spurs was like, I miss my club.
Miss the club. Yeah, I hear it.
I'm the same. We started a YouTube channel, didn't we, Dan, this season? So it's been a difficult season because I feel like inside me there is a happy clapper just desperate to get out and be really, really positive about this club. But it's so hard when we lose every week. So, yeah, it's been difficult. That's why I can't wait till next season. Hopefully new manager, new players, lots to be excited about. But, yeah, that's it for me. Yeah, I do get bored. But the thing is, again, with having a YouTube channel, I don't know whether you guys are the same, but you're constantly thinking about what you can do next. Okay, what's the next video I can do? What's the next short I can do? And it takes over your life sometimes. So it is nice to take a step back. But yeah, I've got to go, guys, because I've got to be up at 5, and I'm never going to sleep otherwise.
Nige, cheers for coming on, man. See you Tuesday. Please, guys, if you haven't subscribed to Nige, please go and do. I've just put the link in the chat. Much appreciated.
Cheers, man.
See you Tuesday, mate.
We'll get you on with me and Drew. We'll get you on Spurs Dials with me and Drew.
No worries, man.
And Dan, we'll get Dan on as well, obviously, and Elijah.
Where was I? So the question is, am I bored with the content? Look, we all have our go-to channels, right? Don't we? We all have. We have our channels who normally it's people who you kind of know, maybe similar to what you think. They're going to say it how it is. They're not going to, they're going to just, what you're going to hear.
Like-minded individuals.
Yeah, you are.
It's what you resonate with. But even Dan, even if it's not what you resonate with, so long as it's, so long as it's done in a nice way and you're not just pelting each other. Do you know what I mean? Banter's one thing, but people just sitting there and just screaming at each other. It's just, what's the point of that? No one wants that. I'd rather watch Jerry Springer if we're going to do that. You know what I mean?
Depends what mood you're in, doesn't it? It depends what mood you're in.
I suppose.
We listen, even if people are harshly rejecting, we listen. This whole point is you've got to be able to listen, respect people's opinions and listen.
And I think it's good to hear all sides of the arguments. So, for example, I'd maybe go and listen to Tottenham Away, Dan, Hotspur Hood, Sava, but then I have a little listen into Last Word of the Spurs, see what they're saying. Sean, Irish, there's so many good channels out there. You guys, diehards. Elijah, I don't see you don't do live shows, do you, man?
I do, but not really panels. When my channel is really just me, I'll be real. A lot of the times, I just stream on my own for the most part because I don't know. I just prefer it. I don't know why. But
yeah, my comfort zone is panel shows. So I prefer, and I want people to challenge my opinions, and then what's really good about panel shows is someone will come up, Drew will come up, even in our shows, and he'll say something I hadn't even thought about. Yeah. And that's what you get when you've got a group of you, and that's what I like,
That's fair enough.
Spurs Kings TV is also a very good watch.
Yeah, they're good. Yeah. Ash and Marlon, they're excellent.
Yeah.
Ash I'm not going to get in the ring and Ash over tactics and all that because he's just wiped the floor with you. You know what I mean? So he's brilliant at that. And we all bring something different, don't we? I like to bring facts. Drew likes to bring facts, but he brings different facts that I bring. So we want to create an interesting show. We want it to be interesting. There are different podcasts, so they've all got a different tone to my favourite topic. Some are very light entertainment, some are jokey, some of this that. But deep down, I'm a very discerning Spurs fan. I can be very serious as a Spurs fan, right? I want everything to be perfect, right? But that's just me because I'm obsessed, right?
A special mention to the two Marks as well.
Yeah,
years and years of Spurs history there.
Suffering.
Look, there's so many shows. It's impossible to watch them all. Yeah. It really is difficult, especially when you're running a channel yourself. When you're you've got a life, you're working, you've got kids, and then you're trying to put a show together. It does take time. So, in the old days when I wasn't on YouTube, I used to watch a lot more. But since going on YouTube, it's been a lot harder because of just time. But look, I try and watch as much as I can. Am I bored of it? I think I'm just bored of Ange and this negativity around the club and this season. So, I can't wait for something different to happen in the summer, whatever happens. But good question, Elijah, though. That was a good one. Appreciate a bit outside the box, that was. Let's go for Drew. Drew, did you think of a question for us all?
Yep. All right. Given the result yesterday and the result in February, is there an argument that Palace and Newcastle have had a better season than Manchester City and that lot up the road? If the answer to that is no, then does that ultimately mean that Champions League qualification is more important than silverware?
Let's ask that again, Drew. Let me get, there's a lot there.
So, given the result yesterday, so Palace winning the cup, and in February with Newcastle winning the cup, is there an argument that both Palace and Newcastle have had better seasons than Manchester City and that lot up the road? And so if the answer to that question is no, then does that ultimately mean that a Champions League qualification place is more important than silverware?
No.
Or winning an actual cup?
That's an easy one for me. Winning a cup is better than Champions League, I think.
Speaking as a fan, you are now, Dan. So any board at any football club, they want Champions League football they want the money.
Yeah, but as a Spurs fan, we don't see trophies. So, I'm going to take a trophy all day long.
Yeah. So Yeah, I want trophies. Yeah, right.
I mean, the reason I sort of asked that question is just because, there's the potential that on Wednesday we could do both of those things, and yet somehow we're still in the position that we're in. So I just sort of thought I found that fascinating, because I do feel like there are people, and there are boards obviously that would rather the fourth place, and there are people that would rather, I think, be they obviously, clearly would rather be higher in the league than we are. So I just wonder. I was just trying to gauge it to see.
Do you think like we win the Europa League and like Levy buys Ange a watch?
Oh, the watches have been bought regardless, man.
Yeah, right.
Well,
Right.
He bought Joe a car and he sacked him, mate. So I mean, I think a watch with winner on it, right?
It might be spelled with one N though. I don't know. It might not spell it right.
Yeah.
Mm.
We all answered that. Elijah, did you answer that one? Yeah.
No, I agree that the trophy comes first, and there's no point in people determine how big your club is based on the trophies you win, not how many times you've qualified for the Champions League. So, yeah, trophies come first.
Cool.
Okay, next one will go to Adrian. You're the last one.
I don't know if you guys have watched as much of the academy as I have. I watched every game last year. Watched the other youngsters play. But for some of the players that excluding Mikey Moore, because he's going to be part of the squad anyway, what academy players do you want to see on the pre-season tour?
Of all the players, and it's really hard to gauge because the level is different, but I think obviously Jamie Donnelly really deserves a shot. And I think that he, especially in the number 10 rotation, especially if you think that maybe, this is another player that sort of splits the fan base. Half the people want Maddison gone because he doesn't pull his weight and, he's always injured and da-da-da-da-da. So on the off chance that we don't get what we want and we're not in Europe and we have to get rid of a couple of players, if there is the chance of a number 10 rotation spot, then I think Donnelly absolutely has to be a part of that. Vuskovic as well, the centre back. I think based on how he's performed in Europe, and I've really liked Dorrington when I've seen him play.
Yeah,
and I quite like Phillips, but I find him from what I've seen, and admittedly it's not a lot, I just find him a little slow and a little bit flat-footed. So I think Vuskovic might have done himself no end of favours, and I think he might have maybe gone above the pecking order. But yeah,
how
definitely.
Old is he now, Drew? How old?
Length year? 23 league goals last year and over 30 in the cup competitions. Will Lancashire. He hasn't really been given the time at West Brom on loan.
But yeah, Vuskovic, I think he's just coming up to 18 or just turning. He must be because he's on loan, right? And you can't be on loan if you're not. So yeah,
we
18
could bring him in January because he wasn't 18 until February. He got the 18. So
okay.
But yeah, those definitely, and kind of a shout to Ajay as well.
Ajay. We haven't seen him, have we, since he had that
Not
little
really.
great goal. He hasn't been in the team at all.
Scarlett's had groin surgery, and he's going to make it. It might not be with Spurs, but he'll make it. He's a natural finisher, in my opinion. He got that 5th goal in the Canes last game for 5-1 against Shakhtar Donetsk, and he also scored against Elfsberg, didn't he, when Ajay scored and Mikey Moore scored. So he got that. A player who's looked with me, who is Akar sort of like Gascoigne, is Tyrese Hall. But in pre-season, he didn't impress me. Seen him in under 21 games, he's looked absolutely brilliant. And he's one of those, like, you get that with brilliant players. They're either on it or they're not, And he's what, if he was oven ready, he's what you need in midfield because he's a ball-carrying midfielder like mind you, Elusasi's a cam as well. He's decent as well. So from what I've seen, but look, I've been wrong about players before. I thought Santiago would be good. Now he's in the Spanish second division. You know what I mean? So this is football will always make a fool of you. But you know, it doesn't mean to say like that you're wrong about. I mean, like, we've got a lot of good talent now that Dean Rastrick left that club and Paratici ripped up all the academy rules. We decided to pay players like good money, probably wrong money for players at such a young age, but good money to attract them, and it's worked because like last season we cleared up on 2 trophies, and this year the under-18s won the League Cup as well. So yeah,
they all can't play though, can they? This is it. So we've got to prioritise who's going to be in the first team, who's going to get loaned out. Well, it's got to pay for itself.
I mean, the old academy has to pay for it. Look what Man City and Chelsea have done.
Yeah.
They've earned loads of money, and that brings money in for you to spend in the transfer market. So this is your goal.
We could do better in that area, though, couldn't we?
When we're bringing players in, you bring in players in to improve all aspects and all levels of your football club. So a lot of fans, they get a bit shirty when, we bring a player in, he's 17, 18. Oh, why are we bringing him in? Hang about, we're not bringing him in to play in the first team. You know, we're bringing him in because
I think the issue, the reason why people have an issue with that, Adrian, is it's another 18-year-old. The problem is that if the squad had been dealt with properly, and if we were also seeing equal and better first team players coming in, I don't think you would have that much of a rhetoric. Oh, it's another 18-year-old. What are we doing? Because if we'd also have bought a 26, 27, 28-year-old that could slot into the first team straight away, people would say, oh, well, that's great. And also we bought an 18-year-old. We're filling out the squad for the future. So I think one helps the other.
And Amelia Mason, and they look, when you look at video clips, like at their level, you've got to say at their level, they look outstanding. That doesn't mean they're going to go on and do anything, but at their level, they look brilliant. So like you think, you still got to go down that road. You've still got to do it.
Yeah. One thing to take into account as well is, remember we bought one of the young players we bought is Bergvall, and Bergvall has become like maybe the 4th best midfielder, 3rd best midfielder at the club. So and he's 19. So even if we're looking at other teenagers or early 20s players that we bring in, like we're bringing them in, but out of all the youngsters we brought in, and even applies to Archie Gray at this point.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
They're not Bergvall level. Like Bergvall's come in at 18 years old, now 19, and solidified himself getting first team regular minutes. So if that's a 1 out of X amount of youngsters we bring in, it's almost like we're bringing in all these youngsters, but only one of them.
Elijah, I'd say that Gray's done better than Bergvall, but the reason Bergvall's grabbing the headlines is because he looks the more sexier player.
So what would you do with Gray in the summer, guys? Would you loan him out?
No, I wouldn't loan him. No. I think Bergvall has done better than Gray, but Gray's been left hung out to dry. That's why Bergvall's done better.
We got three pre-season games booked. We've got 2 in Asia. We've got we're playing Arsenal, and we're playing Newcastle in Korea. We're playing Arsenal in Singapore, and we've agreed to play in the cup game with Bayern Munich at the Alliance Stadium as well. These are 3 games you play Gray in, because you've got to give him a run in midfield, right? And if you're going to get a balance and some cohesion out of him, we know he can do a job at fullback. We know he can do a job.
We bought Gray in for midfield, haven't we? And he's looked better playing in the back line.
No, he was bought to
He played 33 games for Leeds at right back out of necessity.
So did we buy him for midfield or right back?
And as a number 10
for right back
as well.
For right back. Elijah, you think we bought him for right back? Because I heard we bought him for midfield.
No, because if we look at the summer window that he came in, we added Bergvall, we didn't sell any midfielders, and we sold Emerson. So that, and remember, Spence wasn't playing at all. Spence was frozen out of the team. Right. So we literally had Porro and Emerson as our 2 right backs. We didn't sell any midfielders. We brought in Bergvall with Archie Gray. So if anything, we added midfielders. So it's not like we sold any midfielders. This was just a poor. It was poor. I guess Højbjerg, but this was just poor recruitment from Lange or Manu, whoever the hell is responsible. It's just poor recruitment. They saw a kid who played right back and was good at right back in the championship, and someone who's supposed to be a midfielder. So they saw a dynamic player who can play full back and can play in the midfield, and were like,
then he ended up centre back. Then he ended up centre back. So they just saw someone who could play multiple positions, that could cover in multiple positions. That's what they saw from him. They just saw this
diverse kind of player who can play multiple positions.
Oh, he's
but
a superb
they bought him,
talent, Elijah.
but
He's
they bought
superb
him
talent.
as a replacement for Emerson because Emerson left in the summer and they didn't sell any midfielders at all. So yeah, there's no way he was bought for midfield.
I like his vision. I like his passing, even his tackling. All that. He got a bit bullied against Ipswich away by Delap, but I like this kid. I watched him at Leeds before. I could see where everyone's hovering around him, and he's good. He's not just good; he's very good. And when you consider his age as well, like Bergvall, who looks sexier because he's more going forward. Gray, I don't think it's actually decided what his best position is. I think it will end up in midfield, right? But as most fans do, I think. But
so is he going to play in midfield next season? This is the question. That's why I said about a loan. Is Gray going to get the minutes? If we're not in Europe, when's he going to play?
Well, then you lose in 8 games straight away, right? If you're not in Europe, 4 home and 4 away. That's the way the Champions League and Europa League is set up now. So you're losing those games. Then you're looking at domestic cups. If you progress, and it all depends who the opposition are. When you're playing, playing youngsters as well, you could say that you could throw the exact same situation to Mikey Moore, right?
So would you loan out Mikey Moore next season?
No, not in a million years. Not in a million years. He's too good.
What's the worry about that then? If he goes on 1 year on loan,
well, he can't go out till he's 18 anyway. He's only 17. But
okay.
Next August, he'll be 18. So he could go out on loan once he reaches that, or you could arrange a deal prior to that and all that, right? But
there's nothing wrong with that, though, for his development. It's good.
That also, he's made 19 appearances this season, right? Now, they might have been long appearances. He's 19. So he's got to be
according to a report from Lily White Rose, Mikey Moore is absolutely over the moon with the amount of minutes that he's got this season.
Yeah, and if you loan him out and you brought him into the squad in Europe, what sort of message does that send to the player?
But they signed Tell. This is what confused me. Moore had been doing okay, and then they went and signed Tell, and it killed his game time, didn't it?
Well, Moore can play anywhere in the front 6.
But we haven't seen him, have
so
we?
Moore had also picked up an injury and was recovering from a virus. I mean, he's not even been in the under-21 squad. He was in one squad. I think he played maybe 9 minutes. So if he'd have been fit, the likelihood he was going to be playing in that squad. So I genuinely think he's had a bit of an issue back after this season. He's only just got back onto his feet.
Kid,
we're only
he's
just
the best kid. I've watched reserve games, only in my opinion, and I'm not a coach or a scout, right? This kid is the best kid since Glenn Hoddle that's been at this club.
Wow, that's a statement.
And he's going to go on and he's going to be world class and he's going to be an absolute superstar. He's an absolute generational talent. If you watch the pre-season games you're watching, I watched him play for England. He can sort of like shift his hip, left foot, right foot, jink, go either way. I don't think half the time he knows what he's going to do himself.
What's his position, Adrian? What's his actual position?
Well, he's right-footed, but he plays on the left wing. But in for the under-21s, they've switched him over when they need to put a winger in who's better suited on the other side. So he could play as a ball-carrying midfielder as well. He can play as we're worried about a 10. He can play as a 10. Seriously, I mean, like the only thing you've looked at recently with him because of he's new in the Premier League, even with 19 appearances, it's like. Is he at times getting a bit bullied on the ball? He's going to win you hundreds of free kicks, though. Definitely win you hundreds of free kicks, right? And when I watched him at Aberdeen, the way he glides sometimes and goes on these slalom runs past players when it works. Big call, reminds me of Maradona.
Oh, God.
He does, Sean. I'm not saying he's going to be a Maradona. I'm saying when Maradona.
I'll tell you what. I think I genuinely, Dan, the best thing we can do for these kids, is to get a couple of players in that will help them learn how to figure out this game and how to figure out this career.
Experience, yeah, Drew. What you say?
A couple of experience. A couple of experienced heads, man. Because otherwise it's just like, and I know they're obviously a different breed or a different gravy getting to where they've gotten to. But I'm long enough in the tooth. I've lived on 3 different continents. I've been into enough places and enough experience. If you get enough people, especially boys or men of the same age together, and a couple of them start giggling, they'll all start giggling. You need a couple of older, wiser people to clap their hands and say, "Oi, lads, shut up." And it can't always be the coaching staff. It's got to be a couple of players on the pitch. And I don't want to harp on and be,
we've got that at the moment, Drew. You don't think we have those players?
I really don't. I don't think Bentancur's quite got it. Basuma certainly hasn't got it. There's nobody in the middle of the park that's got it. James Maddison. The only one that I really think has maybe got shades of it is Kulusevski, and I still think he's a little too young. I think if it was a 27, 28-year-old Kulusevski, I think then maybe you've got that sort of player that isn't afraid to start barking at people and say, what the hell are you doing? But we don't. And it's not that I'm trying to harp on and be like, oh, there aren't players like X, Y, or Z anymore. But there kind of aren't. And to this point, it's kind of all gotten a little bit robotic, and it's sort of everything's almost like done from the sidelines, and everyone complains that Ange doesn't do anything. And, there's nobody. I don't. Well, no, I know the narrative is he doesn't, and I think it's shame on the media because I think they've fed into that narrative, and I think as far as the commentary goes, when you see it on the TV, they've honed in on that narrative, and all you see is him doing nothing. But I've got it on first-hand experience from people in the games that he's there and he's making noise and he's doing stuff on the sidelines. He doesn't just stand there like a statue. So. But that's beside the point. There's a couple of, I think you need a couple of real, whatever, as close to a general as there is in football, you need that on the field in a couple of positions, and we don't have it.
This is what who is that player? About the football, though, because
I'm not sure.
If any of you get the chance to, on Spurs Play, 30 quid a year, whatever it is, and go and watch the academy games, right, like I do, right, what you'll see is like they're fearless, and usually wherever you're playing, both teams are going for it. It's refreshing. I tell you, it's refreshing to see that sort of football. And why it hasn't produced a Premier League level, I don't know. But like it's very attack based. It is like academy football, very attack based from whatever team it is.
But you still need a conductor. You still need somebody in there pulling the strings. Otherwise, it's just a load of headless chickens just running up and down. And there's something to be said for the endeavour and everything. And this is all great, but at some point, you've got to learn. I think as a football, the greatest teams have done it. Manchester City done it. Manchester United back in the day used to do it. Liverpool have done it this season. They know when to put their foot on the throat and when to put their foot on the brakes. And we need to nurture that within the squad because, as I say, I don't think it can always come from the sidelines all the time.
Okay. I respect your comment here, but you have to consider we're putting young players who you want to put more young players into a team that is probably the youngest in the Premier League anyway. With the players we've actually got playing. I mean, Drew's just alluded to the fact that, Kulu's only 24, right? 24, 25. And our team is the youngest. I think we put out the youngest side. I think maybe Chelsea might be able to put out a younger one, but they don't play them all. And so Ange has played youngsters. I mean, like Gray, Bergvall, you Doggy, Spence. These ain't old players. They're not old players.
Spencer's old. Spencer's like 25 now.
Is he?
Yeah, Spencer's old. He's at 25.
So the sensible thing is to bring in some experience in the summer, isn't it?
Yeah, we do have. Right? It's not that we're short of experience, though. I mean, like even some of these players, like Gray and Bergvall. Okay, I'll hear that. But when we're talking about Udogie, he's been playing top level football for years. Like Brendan Johnson, he has caps for his country. Like he's young, sure, but he's been playing. Like Kulu's, like he's the captain. Isn't he the captain of Sweden? Like he's. Yeah. It's not like he's never played. Like he's been playing international football years with Ronaldo at Juventus, Bentancur, with Bentancur Juventus as well. Like,
so what is it then, Elijah? What is it then? What specific?
Well, I'm just talking. Let me just like in this. I'm talking like, let's think Like, we want us to progress on arguably, at least 2, maybe 3, possibly 4 fronts on a regular season by season basis. And I just think it takes a certain character to be able to do that, not just on face value, be able to play a couple of games of football a week. And I know that these guys are very well treated, but you're still looking at sleeping in a different bed, laying on a different pillow. Like, these players, some of these players are different breed, and some of these kids need to be nurtured through that. You can't. I get it that they've got experience, but that experience, I don't think they've got the experience to be able to level us up. Yes, they've got football experience. Yes, they've been there and done it. They've been on the road. But I just think week in, week out, to go away in Europe, to have to travel the lengths that they travel, you need a couple of people in that dressing room to make sure everybody's head is still in the game. And for as much as we love Sonny, I don't necessarily think, as much as he's the captain and he's been there and done it, I don't even necessarily think he's got what it takes to get everybody's attention if he were to walk in the dressing room. You know what I mean?
Okay,
It's not
I'm not into this leadership stuff nowadays. I think most of it is it's a debate, but it don't stick with me. Back in the day when you had captains, made a difference. Now they're mainly PR merchants, right? Because to me, if you're playing for my club and you can't motivate yourself on that football pitch, yeah. If you can't motivate yourself on that football pitch, then fuck off. Basically, get out, go. I don't want you, right? There are times when old captains of the day could G players up. It's not the same now. It's not the same. They're mainly PR.
It's more of a business. I don't think we're ever going to see it. Like, even when Dan asked Drew, who are general players, even Drew's like, I don't know, because it's literally just like, there are no, not to say there are no generals, but like I hear, and this is no disrespect to you guys, but I hear older people talk about like the Roy Keanes and the Vieiras and all that kind of stuff, and it's like that was 20 plus years ago. I can't lie. That was 20 years
I tell you
ago.
what, when I start going down that road, I feel another grey hair pop out my chin and I have to reel it back in. I tell you, bro. I tell you, honestly, it's true story. So I feel you, man.
You can give a motivational speech at half time if you're a captain, right? There's not much else you can do on the field when things are going wrong, right? But at the same time, whether you're the captain or the manager, you can't keep repeating the same motivational speech. You've got to think of something different each time you've got your players up for a game. If you're progressing through a competition, you want to be able to inspire the team and G them up and get them going out there so they go out all guns blazing. That is an art in itself. That sort of psychology is an art in itself to do that, right? But
but literally, I agree.
Look, what's happened with the Spurs fan base? We've had such a shit season, right? That we've gone down all these different avenues, or as Drew would say, I've dropped down a rabbit hole, right? And we've attacked the club at every angle we can fucking think of, basically, right? Which has got us absolutely nowhere, right? And that's not going to change because because fans have struggled, right, to try and think with their own minds, how can we fix this or fix that? And so they've gone, right, we'll bash this area with this stick, we'll bash this area with that stick, we'll bash this. But no, the leadership, forget it. I've even heard pundits go on it, on Shite Talk Radio and Sly Sports going about it. I just think you're talking absolute rubbish to fill airtime minutes because, it's crap. At the end of the day, you're playing football. You should be able to motivate yourself. You've come through from an academy level as a kid through to the Premier League. Now, you are a good player because you've made it, right? Now, you might not be a player that's good enough for our club or the standards we want or where we want to go, but you're a good Premier League player because you've made it. You're not crap, right?
It takes a different breed to be self-motivated when you're on 60 grand a week.
I could get quite motivated for 60.
Sorry, I mean, I don't. I hate to be so cynical, but
literally, I draw a lot of parallels out of basketball because I watch the NBA as well. but it's pretty much similar in terms of the way things are viewed, like football and basketball. But obviously, we're talking about football. Football is a business; it's business first. And back in the day, really, you weren't making enough money to where you can sustain yourself comfortably for the rest of your life. And nowadays, because football is business, and even like obviously the top players back in the day could make enough to sustain themselves. But if you were just like an average Premier League player, like Anderson, who was a Crystal Palace, I forgot where, I think he's at Fulham now, but Anderson level player, he can now make enough to sustain himself comfortably for the rest of his life, just because of inflation and how much football's worth and how much players can get paid. If Anderson was in the Premier League in 2000, he might have a small business now, just working as a business owner, maybe got a cake shop or something, but like, you know what I'm saying? But he'd use that money to open up something and carry on working.
This is why part of the due diligence on a player is their psychology, because some might be happy to sit on the bench, like say Austin as a goalkeeper at Spurs, and take the money, and others will think, sod the money, I'm a winner, I want to win something.
I'd take Anderson because I think he's actually the sort of dude that you need at the back. Like, he's actually, as far as generals go, I was just looking at the Premier League table and I'm like, you know, Liverpool, Van Dijk, arguably, you could say, probably Andy Robinson, maybe somewhat. He'll put it up you. But other than that, you go down the league table and you're struggling. They're a dying breed. You just don't get
the reason why they're a dying breed is literally because of the money aspect. Like, but back in the, at least for me, like doing research, because obviously I have to research these things for basketball as well. But it's easier to love the club back in the day because you're doing it less out of financial incentive. That's the main point. Like, because football is a business and because you make so much money to the point where you can be just an average player in the Premier League and your family could be set for life, you know. So it's more about when's the next contract, when's the next, just keeping your checks coming, really, rather than the passion is, it's easier to be more passionate when there's less on the line for you. Like, and you can just love the club and you're playing for them. Like, that's why like the players like the Roy Keanes from like the mid 2000s won't be here. It's because for most people, it's just the opportunity to change your family's life. That's why people were going to China 10 years ago. That's why people are going to Saudi now. You know, like, I remember when Oscar for Chelsea? He went to the Chinese league in his prime. He was like 26 and he went to the Chinese league.
What's that Wolves player who went there? What was the Wolves player who went there? That midfielder. Young midfielder who went to Saudi. So young. So good.
I forget, but I know Gabby Vega went there. He was in La Liga. I think he was playing for Betis. There's Gabby Vega's 21 and he went to the Saudi league last summer. And it caused a huge uproar because he's 21. He was one of the best players. Neves, there you go, João Neves. But Gabby Vega also was one of the most sought after players in midfield, the young Spanish players in the world. And he chose to go to Saudi for the money. Obviously, John Duran's gone to Saudi as well for the money. And obviously, for the family aspect, I fully understand it. But you're not going to ever have those kind of generals that, we got to do this for the badge and love the club. Like, as much as we back the players don't really care about Tottenham like that. Like, they don't. You can make an argument for Son, for Kane, for like Ben Davies, for the players that were here for an extended period of time. But Pedro Porro don't care. Romero doesn't care. Basuma don't give a fuck either. Like, none of these men really care in it. They're here because they're employed. So that's why I don't really ever ask for the general thing, because these men are here for the check. Like, I respect it. It's their job. But they're here for the paycheck, innit? So you might as well at least do your job properly. That's the way I look at it.
Right, guys. It's getting late. It's getting late, guys.
And the other thing is, of course,
Adrian, last point.
If
and then
we had
something to say.
Graham Roberts, or you got a Roy Keane now, they'd be sent off before half time now.
It's a different game. It's a different game. Right, guys, it's getting late. Let's do the Man United talk. There's a comment in the chat we can bring into it as well. How's everyone feeling about Wednesday? I think let's start off with who you want to play. There was a couple of positions that we're a bit unsure of, so let's focus on them. Go around the panel. Who would you play left wing? Who would you play behind the striker? I guess we all think Johnson's going to be on the right, yeah? So,
yeah.
So yeah, anybody can kick it off. Who do you want as a 10? Who do you want on the left wing?
Well, like you're going to have Vicario in goal. You know the back four. You Doggy, VDV, Romero, Porro. Midfield's going to be Basuma and Bentancur. You know, two to make up 9 are going to be Solanke and Johnson. It's a question where Solanke plays. And then we're looking at the other two players. Now you're picking from Sarr if he wants to pack the midfield. You're looking at Tell. You're looking at Odegaard. You're looking at Richarlison, and you're looking at Son. So we've got the 9. So you're picking.
Son's going to play, isn't he? He's going to play because he's a captain. Yeah. So left is done.
Well, then
really.
that's 10. That's 10 you've got. Now you're looking for 1. Now, do fans think that we should actually play with a 10 if we haven't got one? The only one who's really got the skill to do it is Odegaard, right? But do you risk that in a final, right?
So what would you do, Adrian? What would you go to up front?
I'd actually be more cautious. What I would do, I would have the midfield I've said, and then if we're playing 4-2-3-1, I would go Son, Solanke, Johnson, and I'd play Richarlison as a 9 because he's a better battering ram.
So who's up front?
Richarlison. Solanke's he's skillful. He's got a good pass to him and all that. Like he's not a perfect number 10, but he could do a really good job there behind Richarlison. But that's just.
Is that what you would do, Adrian? Solanke behind Richarlison. Is that what you're saying? That's what you want?
Yeah, I would.
Okay. Elijah, what would you go for?
I'm up for a spanner in the works, and it's something I talked about with George, and I'm not actually opposed to it considering what's going on because I wouldn't start Son personally. I'd bring him on. I'd bring him on at the start of the second half, just so he has 45 minutes just to run all his energy out. Because 90 minutes of Son, he's going to be gassed by like the 60th minute. But I would personally start Spence and play Porro there. In the 10, potentially. I'd play Porro just because he's our most
didn't do it, did
player.
he, Elijah? He didn't do it against Villa, did he?
He didn't do it.
He was going to.
I would play Porro.
Elijah, just on your point, right? I remember in the 1991 FA Cup final, my mate Mark said to me, "Are you playing Gascoigne? Because he's we don't know sure if he's fit and all this lot. Perhaps we should bring him on for the second half of the last 30 minutes." And I went, "No." And he went, "Why?" I said, "Because you play him from the start. He might last the first half. He might last halfway through the second half. And then if you've got to substitute him, you take him off. You don't know when you get out of Son. So to me, you start him."
I don't know. I'd rather...
It's fair enough.
Rather Son come on against a little bit more tired Man United, and we already know that if we're most likely going to get that big chance once Man United have gassed out because they're actually decent defensively. So I'd rather have Son and Bergvall, to be fair, to come on later on. But I would start Odegaard on the left. I'd have Odegaard just because he's
no Son.
More of a
you wouldn't start Son.
No, I'd bring him on. I'd bring on Son.
I think it's a sad indictment if you've got to think, as much as I love Bergvall, you're now that thinking, you're that desperate that you think he's got to start with his injuries and all that, or you're even bringing him on the second.
What did you think of Son against Villa, guys? Because there's mixed reaction about his performance.
I thought he did okay.
I
thought he broke well on the left. I thought there was some good link-up play on the left. And he looked fresh and energized. Don't get me wrong, he wasn't a game changer. But he looked fit, and he looked full of running as well. So,
I thought that. I know his final ball was terrible, and he had a good shot, didn't he?
He had a couple of chances to feed people in, or a couple of chances to sort of have a go himself, and like it weren't there. But I'm looking at the players' fitness levels for that game because I didn't really give a shit about that game. I didn't get spanked 5-0, coming away 2-0. Most Spurs fans thinking, "Nah, we don't care," right? but like, no, I thought he looked okay. I thought Odegaard looked good as well. Odegaard looked quite good, although we were under pressure all the time in the sort of 10 role as well.
So let's just go back to Elijah. Who are you playing again, buddy?
I would have basically the 9 that we spoke about, but then I have Porro in the 10 and Odegaard on the left. That's probably how I do it.
Okay. Not happening, Elijah, because we haven't. Ange hasn't shown.
That's just what I would do, and I'm not saying that's what's going to happen.
I've seen it in media reports. Porro's. That would be a surprise that they've been having secret training sessions for the last month doing that or something like that.
Yeah, no, so it's not going to happen. But if I was
No.
the manager, that's how I would do it. That's what I would do.
Drew, who are you going for, man?
I would like to see some form of 4-2-3-1, 4-4-1-1 kind of thing, where I'm kind of with Adrian, where I think Solanke is the only player really up top in our squad that can receive the ball with his back to goal, fend off a man, and play a ball out wide or put a ball through.
Yeah.
So I would be inclined to have him in the 10, have Richarlison up top. And again, I know the romance of it all. I don't want Sonny on the pitch unless he's absolutely 100%. And to be honest with you, unfortunately this season, although his numbers aren't
against Villa, Drew. What did you think he played like?
I thought he's always full of endeavour, like he'll always run, but I don't think he's still towards the end of the performance. It still looked like he was running. He started to run in treacle a little bit, and his final ball and his final touch this season has just been left wanting. Yeah. And I think Tell has shown enough that I think he's chomping at the bit, and I think Sonny might just be put out enough. I think it would be clever management to give Tell the start, let Sonny really kind of brew on the side, and then bring him on as an impact sub with 20-30 minutes to go. I think, Dan, to be honest with you, I'm pretty confident. I've already got on record as saying delusionally that we'll be 2-0 up by half time and this will be a 3-0 win. This is a banker. There's nothing in Manchester United worries me at all.
Drew? What's that based on? Just help us there.
I think that if you look at how they've played in the Europa League, I think they've been I don't want to discredit them at all, because there have been moments where they've played some really nice football, but I think they've been lucky a little bit in the last 2 rounds. I think Bilbao helped him out by getting a stupid yellow card after about 35 minutes. And I think that the game in Bilbao really, really made them look a little bit better than they were. The Lyon game was just an absolute, that was a crap shoot. There was nothing. It was just 2 teams that were just going, I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it. But what I think as the flip side of that is that I think we in Europe, although we've been a shit show in the league, in Europe, the teams that he's put out and the way we've played, we've been really composed, and we look like, actually, for the first time, we kind of know what we're doing. Like I was told before we went out to Frankfurt, that Frankfurt were a team and they were going to show us something. They were going to put us to bed. And we actually did all right, I thought. And then I was told, Bodo, all right, we may have done them at home, but they're different gravy, and they're different gravy in Norway. We're going to come a cropper, absolute spanking. And I actually thought we did all right. So regardless of how it's done in the league, and I fully understand we've been a shit show, but we've been all right. Whereas United have used their first 11 the last couple of times in the league and still been a crapshoot. I just think if we're a little clever, if we play to our strengths, like if we try and go down the middle, which I don't think we can do because we haven't got a number 10, but if we were to try and go down the middle and go through a 2-3 bank, because obviously the 3 centre-backs and the 2 midfielders, then it's not going to work. But I think if we can get behind their fullbacks and be clever enough not to let their fullbacks come onto us, and we have Richarlison and Solanke in the box tying up their centre-backs, I think we're going to be lucky in the fact that really Maguire, I think, is the only capable centre-back they've got. Like Yoro's out, Martinez is out. You got I don't even know who their back 3 is going to be. Mazraoui, I like, and I think he's a little bit underrated. Dorgu, I think, is flattered to death. I don't think he's been very particularly special. Bruno, I kind of worry about. Casemiro all of a sudden has shown up, so he's a little bit of a concern. But I just overall, I've really never felt. And here's the thing, right? I could sit here and go, I can see us being 2-0 down with 20 minutes gone and us getting spanked 4-0, nobody showing up and it being an absolute shit show. But I don't want to live that life for the next 3 days. So I'm optimistically looking at the side where we actually turn up. The first 20 minutes, we're playing the sort of, I'm going to sound like Ange now, or playing the sort of football we know we can play. And just like,
Drew, sorry, I just want to say goodbye to Elijah because he's got to shoot.
Yeah.
He's got to get up
Take
early.
care,
in the
Elijah.
morning.
Good to meet you, mate.
College calls tomorrow morning, man.
That's all good, bro.
Elijah, man, thank you for coming on, man. And please, people in the chat, if you haven't subscribed, go over to Elijah, give him a sub. And we'll put his link up in the chat in a minute, man. Much appreciated.
Yeah, appreciate that. Thanks for having me on, and nice to meet everyone up on here, man.
Yeah, man. Take care, Elijah. Nice one, man.
Take care.
I like your call on Tell, Drew, because with Tell on the left, and what he gives, what Son doesn't give you is that physicality. He has got the physicality for the Premier League.
He's really good with a cross as well, mate.
Yeah, and like his corners, he took the corner for the goal, didn't he?
Really good.
When Romero leaped for a salmon and like fed it to Solanke. Yeah, I like the player. Again, we're all umming and ahhing. We ain't paying that amount of money for him and all that. I want him. I'd like to keep him now. I've seen enough. And he's looked
25, 30 mil after another loan.
Yeah.
Isn't it? That's what I do.
He's looked better every time I've seen him, which is a good sign, right? He hasn't done like a Dragerson, look good in the Euros, come and look good, then look poor, got sent off, blah, 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 and all that shit. He is consistently improved, and he's always like, to the rest of the team. You see him on the pitch. I like the aggression. I like the mentality of the player. So I would like to keep him, right? I know he's young, and we've got this argument about all these young players, right? I want to keep him. We know we've got Odegaard. Odegaard's going to be a superstar, I think, but it's going to take a little bit of time. So I wouldn't be annoyed if he started over Son. If we just look at that position, I still think Solanke should play the 10, not Odegaard.
What do you think, Dan? What's going around your head?
Well, I just think Son will start because he's the captain. I get what you guys are saying, and I kind of agree. You know, Son has been underwhelming this season, but he's the captain. He's going to start. We know what Ange is like. He's the captain of the club. I think he was okay against Villa. His final ball let him down, but I thought he was a bit sharper than what I've seen. I don't know if a lot of people said he has not been. I mean, I think he was busy. He was getting on the ball. He was finding some space. Drew, do you not agree?
And there's a risk assessment, isn't there, Dan and Drew? I mean, you're talking about a front four, yeah? So you talk about Solanke, behind Richarlison, you've got Son and Johnson, right?
Yeah.
If things aren't going well, then if you make a mistake or you miss hit a shot or you blast an easy chance wide or something like that, that's not as critical as a defender making a mistake and you conceding a goal. So you could go with either really and like ride it out. And if you're not, if things ain't working, you can change things, can't you? You can change things.
So do we?
I do see Adrian's
guys. Drew,
yeah, I mean, I see Adrian's point of, you do run the risk if he does have, let's say he can really go lights out for 70 minutes and you do only bring him on for the second half, then you've wasted potentially 20, 25 minutes of what he could give you. So I do see, if he's ready, start him. But you absolutely have to guarantee that he can give you those minutes, because the last thing you want is for him not really to be in a position to give you a strong 45. And he's kind of getting gassed after 30, 35. And then you're having to take him off at half time. And I just, I would rather, if he's only got 45 minutes of absolute like hell for leather football, then give him 30 and make him absolutely chomp at the bit, but by the same time, like, I completely get, like, if he does have the minutes in his legs, then sure, he's probably got to start, but let's not get romantic about it. Let's not get the right foot. Well, I get not be romantic like we were with Harry Kane.
You want to be going in at half time, winning this game already, being goals up. And Son can do that for you.
But Drew said it will be 2-0 without Son, didn't you, Drew?
I think so.
Yeah. So for Son, I think needs to be closer to goal. So we're talking about having a forward, above Solanke. Then isn't that Son?
No, because he can't play the 9.
And the reason Drew's confident is because Man United has been as poor as us this season. And that's why we're going to this game with confidence. And that's why Spurs fans are confident. If we were playing Man City or someone else, Spurs fans wouldn't be going into this game.
But is Ange going to play pragmatic, or is he going to go back to his high line, inverted fullbacks, high press? Or is he going to be playing like he did in the Europa?
He's going to play a defensive double pivot like we've seen. Yeah. And he's going to make use. He's going to make use of the fullbacks, and you're going to see quite clearly, like you have. I think quite clearly, like you have done in the European games, when you've seen Porro bomb forward, you've seen Bentancur peel out to the right, and when you've seen Udogie bomb forward, you've seen Bissouma peel out to the left, and that's not really something we've seen before. And you've seen a very, very clear square between like the Van der Ven, Romero, Bissouma, Bentancur. That block has not, it's a solid square, and you've seen it. And that's not, as I say, it's not something we've really seen in the league because of all the changes, I guess.
I've got a question for you too. If Ange was going to be conservative, which really isn't his nature, could you envisage a midfield three of Sarr, Bissouma?
No, I don't want Sarr. No, I'm sorry. We need a bit more creativity there, Adrian.
No, but could you see it? I mean, you don't want it, but could you see it?
To close a game out, yes, but not to start.
That would mean one of Richarlison would probably on the bench then, and you'd then be playing Solanke, Son, and Johnson.
You've got to remember this team lacks creativity now without Maddison, Bergvall, Kulusevski. Yeah, so we're going to need a solution in the attacking third. Yeah, we can't go that defensive against a Man United team who are not that great.
I get it, Dan. I get it, but I don't think Ange would do it. It's just a thought that's crossed to me because I've gone
maybe in the second half if we need to close it out, possibly.
Yeah, I get that as well. Drew, what do you think?
If you were going to play, if you're playing Sarr, if you're playing Bissouma, Bentancur, and Sarr, then you really have to play counter-attacking or ball-carrying football. You're not going to be able to play a system where Sarr is the furthest midfielder forward receiving the ball with his back to the goal. Like every forward possession would have to entail a ball through or somebody running onto it or somebody carrying a ball. I just don't think it would just be so one-dimensional.
You're not relying
the only good thing about it. The only good thing about it is if you were really going to play high intensity and you were going to play a high line, you were going to make use of both fullbacks. You were going to have your square in the middle, Bissouma, Bentancur sitting. The only way that works is if it's so up front that all Sarr is doing is mopping up rebounds that they can't quite get rid of. Like it would have to be so like boot on the throat. And I don't know. I don't know if we go that gung-ho in a final.
So if we're going to play like we've been playing in the Europa League, that gives me more confidence. Yeah, because that we're more secure, we're more defensive. I like what you said, Drew, and that's what we've seen. Yeah, it's just the attacking threat. We need to score a goal somehow. Now, guys, what is our best route to goal come Wednesday? Is it a set piece? Is it from a Porro cross?
Porro. I was literally going to say Porro. It's Porro. It's a Porro ball in, some sort of knockdown from Richie and somebody getting on the knockdown. And I've Nostradamus that before, so I'm going to Nostradamus that again. There's going to be a knockdown,
though, isn't it, Drew? It's quite limited.
I mean, yeah, but it's a final, Dan. Like if we were talking,
I get it.
Yeah, right. If we were talking about needing to have we were wanting to look at performances for the next 8 or 10 games to see how we were getting on, then I would say, that's really one-dimensional, and we need to be better. But hang on, Adrian. But I would definitely say that in the instance of this being the final, by hook or I will take it any which way I can. And if that is us shutting up shop, putting a ball out to Porro for him to just whip into 2 tanks, I'll take that. I'll take that for 90 minutes.
We take anything.
Right? Yeah.
We
I
take anything.
agree. If the front four is with the 3 behind Richarlison is Son, Solanke, and Johnson, like Drew's alluded to, I see Porro coming up, and I like the fact that Richie and Solanke are in the same team because he'll ping crosses in. If he's a little bit off point, you've got one of them will pick it up. If like Solanke's in the centre and Porro and Richie's to the left of him, one of them will pick it up. They're both decent in the air, right? I think it causes them no end of problems.
Back post is a weakness
with
for
the
Man
wingers
U.
with Sonny on one
Guys,
wing.
the back post.
And yeah, on the back post. You hit them into the centre of the back post, and I think like we would cause them no end of problems. And that's without causing them problems with Johnson and Sonny as well. So you've got a mixture there that'll blend well. I mean, I've gone for a 2-1 Spurs win.
Okay.
You know? I mean, you'll always get nervous Spurs fans in any game. They'll always predict a result where there's a 2-goal barrier, like it's 3-1 or it's 2-0 or whatever, or larger.
So
No,
what I'm hearing in the press, what I'm hearing from a lot of people is that Man U are the favourites, okay? Because they've won cups recently, because they've got some big time players like Casemiro, Fernandes. Yeah, they've got players who can score or go out of nowhere. Yeah, we've seen it. They've done it. Now do you agree with that they are slightly favourites?
No, I don't.
Why?
When you talk about favourites, you usually talk about favourites in a betting order. Now, let's be fair. Man United have got a better pedigree than Spurs throughout history, right? They've got a far larger worldwide fan base, right? So when them fans are having a bet, they're going to outnumber Spurs fans having a bet. I mean, who decides the odds? So naturally, Man United, if we have every final we'd ever win in with Man United, they would be favourites on the book. Yeah. Because they've got more fans betting from than us. But that's
it's not that, Adrian. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that what I'm hearing from pundits is that because they've got winning pedigree recently, they've got big time players that get them over the line. We kind of haven't. So do you get that argument?
They and us have both been piss poor recently as well.
Yes, but they have. But they've won finals recently.
And it is the year of the bird, you know. I mean, like,
I'm trying to look at the argument on both sides.
Palace, the Eagles have won that, right? Newcastle and Magpies have won that. Philadelphia Eagles have won that. I think someone in America posted me something about Ravens and Hawks, which maybe Drew know more about than I do, right? I ain't got a clue what they're on about. And Spurs are the cockerel, right?
No, but Adrian, I know what you're saying. I get that. But look at that issue that they've won cups recently. They've got players who've won trophies. They're not a good side. But look at that argument and how can we come out on top?
Doesn't mean a thing. In the dressing room, it's 1967 when Spurs won the FA Cup 2-1 against Chelsea with Frank Saul and Rivers in goals, right?
Yeah, no,
Dave Mackay was getting everyone roused up. He was singing Scottish war songs in the fucking changing room. And all that. It's roused. It means nothing. Who wants it more? It's always and you get lost. Who wants it more when you're going out on that pitch, right?
Yeah, I agree with you.
Who's more cohesive at the moment? For all our troubles and the little I've seen of Man United, I'm not putting them down. They're a great club, right? I just think we're more cohesive and like we're not playing a team where we really consider ourselves the underdogs. We're not underdogs in this battle. We're not underdogs. Whereas
we can win it.
Liverpool in the Champions League, we were, right? We all knew that they were a better team than us, even though we were the better team on the day, but they scored a goal and sat on it, basically, and then got a very late one through a Rigi, whatever it was. But no, that favourites and all that's out the window. And it's also psychological as well. Like, wouldn't apply pressure on like
do you believe in this team, Adrian, that they can do it?
Yes.
And why? What gives you the belief? Because we haven't seen it.
We've seen
Well,
it
we have
against
seen
United
it.
3 times this year.
We've seen it against United 3
No,
times.
but in a
We've
game
seen
which
it away
is
at Man
actually
City.
matters. A
We've
game
seen
what
it home
matters.
to West Ham, Everton.
No, look, guys,
Villa.
a final. We haven't seen Ange team in a final. This is what I'm saying. Yes,
Well,
we
yeah, but
beat
you haven't given
Manchester
it.
United.
We haven't. There's an argument. We haven't given him a chance to get to the final to be able to see if he can
I'm
win
not
the
saying we
final,
can't do it, Drew or Adrian.
Right.
I'm not saying we can't. I'm just looking at the argument from the Manchester United perspective.
Gotcha. I would say, right, I mean, I'm just looking through this United team, right? And I know obviously, Dan, you've mentioned the suggestion about they've sort of done it more recently than we have.
Yeah.
My opinion at the moment is, I get that argument, but for me, Man United are bigger in name only at the moment.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think the recent history, I think you can kind of put it to one side. Andre Onana, I think if you can pepper him with a few shots, and I know we've not been good with shots from outside the box and things like that, but if you can unnerve him, like he doesn't instill any confidence, I think, in anybody, let alone his own back line. Like Victor Lindelof, Harry Maguire, I mean, all right. Lenny Yoro, I don't even think he's going to be fit. I'm not even sure who their third centre-back is. They might have to put a Luke Shaw or a Mazraoui in there and then use somebody else as a wing-back. Like Mazraoui, Dorgu, have they really won anything recently? Casemiro, give him his dues. Obviously, his trophy cabinet is absolutely full. But, you know, if we're going to go like for like, I know he hasn't won as many, but we do have a World Cup winner in our squad. You know, Manuel Ugarte, all right, he's probably won something out in Portugal. All right, well, Maddison's won FA Cup. So if we're, going toe-to-toe with that sort of thing, like they haven't really done a whole lot more. Like if we're looking at the history of Manchester United, well, just hang on, Adrian. If we're looking at the history of Man United, then yeah, absolutely. Huge club, billions, worth billions more than we are. But right here, right now, I just think we might have their number.
And Drew, to add to that, Drew, have they got our legs?
Right, that's a very good point.
They haven't got our legs.
So you guys are confident.
We could be
you guys are confident. This is what I'm hearing.
But they haven't got our legs. Casemiro's not a youngster. Even like Maguire's good at set plays. We've known that. We've seen it for England. Even their defence. I mean, like, don't get me wrong, Fernandes has done fantastic there, right? But they haven't got our legs. The only team's going to beat us in that final Wednesday is us, unless we really screw up. Right, we're winning this.
So where
game.
will it be won and lost?
Close.
Is it midfield? Is it the midfield, the battle, the most important thing?
We can do that. Well, we've got the legs. We're doing the midfield and on the flanks. They're not going to relish playing us. And in their heads, right, we've beaten them 3 times. Even that 4-3 in that cup game, we gifted them 2 goals. We should have buried them out of sight. They know this. That's it ingrained in their brain, right? They know we have beaten them. They're not the cocky, arrogant Man United under Ferguson, who swept all before them. This is not a Man United side. They're big in name, big in pedigree, and they've got a fantastic pedigree, but they're not better than us. And I just think we have the youthful enthusiasm on our side, and we've got the legs. We can run them into the ground. And if we're going to win this game, it's tired, we'll nick it in the last 20 minutes because we're just pound them into the ground.
I'm wondering if they're just going to be caught between a rock and a hard place a little bit, because I feel like with the back 3 that they're going to have to play, if we're clever about it, and if you sit Johnson and Tell, and see, this is another reason why I'm not sure that I want Sonny in the starting lineup, is because I think if you sit Johnson on Maguire and you sit Tell on, I don't know, is it going to be Lindelof or Luke Shaw, and you just pop balls over the top, I just think you're going to have them running scared. I think they're going to be so worried about those 2 skinning them that I think they're going to be in 2 minds about how far forward they need to come. I think our concern, And I see these comments about what is it? There was one that made me laugh a minute ago. Mate, we're shit. We haven't won any. It says Z at 6:38. Mate, we're shit. We haven't won anything in years. What's this confidence? And I get it. And it's part. I big up Z. I appreciate you. Like, and this does come from part delusion, but I genuinely think that our problem is going to be how we break them down. And I don't think there's going to be as much of a concern as to how they break. I think we're more solid defensively than we think we are. I think with Romero, VDV, with the back five being what it is, and with Udogie playing the way he's played for the last few games, I think he's going to have Garnacho in his pocket.
115,
I don't know.
Lost two.
Just be confident,
lost
mate.
two when we've played that back four and back five. And I totally agree with what you're saying there.
Right,
and
final points. I've got to go. I've got to go to bed, guys.
Back and try and get us a counter.
Final points, guys, about this game. Yeah, one more point, and then I've got to go to bed, man. I've got work in the morning.
I've got to go and eat with dinner. Still good.
One more
good,
thought
mate.
about tomorrow, and you both have got more confident than me. I can't call it at the moment, but I mean, I hear your points. I do. I hear your points. They're good points. Mm-hmm. So, anybody want final thoughts about Wednesday night? I mean, predictions. Adrian, you gave a prediction.
Yeah, I mean, I dreamt. This is a joke, really, because it's probably my subconscious mind going crazy because I'm obsessed with Spurs, right? But I dreamt months ago that we would win the Europa League 2-1. So before we went out to Frankfurt, I had 10 run up 9-2, and then I thought, and I looked in my betting account, which has shrunk, right? Because you never win when you bet eventually. You have fun betting. And I had 12 quid in there, so I went, right, I'm going fiver at 2-1. And then the other £7 bets I had, because I'm not a big gambler, I've had Spurs to win 2-1, Porro to score, Spurs to win 1, Romero to score, Spurs to win 2-1, Solanke to score. You get the picture, right? And use the money up. And I thought, I'm having this. And I just think that my confidence is based on the fact that they're crap, we're crap, and but the little I've seen of Man United, we just look a little bit better. And in the games when they had back four and the two midfielders against West Ham when we stank the place out, Brentford, Frankfurt, Bodo Glint, right? We just we can do this. We can absorb everything they can throw at us and still fucking do them. And look, you have two choices. You can have nervous energy. You can bite your fingernails, which we'll all do on the day. Don't get me worried. I'll be a nervous wreck the same as any other Spurs fan is, because that's the jeopardy of being a football fan. It's part of the enjoyment. And then you got to think, well, I'd rather be in this situation than not involved in a cup final. You know what I mean? So you go with it. And I'll be as nervous as shit, hoping that all my thinking is right, and that we cross the line and we lift a trophy, But it's still unknown. It's still unknown. I mean, I believe we're going to win this. I believe we'll win it 2-1. And I may be proved wrong.
Oh, Adrian, I hope you're right, man. I hope you're right. Honestly, I hope your dream was real. Drew, final thoughts on Wednesday. What do you want to say, man?
Firstly, big up to everybody in the chat. Smash a like, subscribe if you haven't already. Scott M, and this isn't to pull anyone up at all. Big up, Scott. 638 says the confidence from Spurs fans is embarrassing, and I struggle with that comment, because why is it embarrassing that somebody should want the best and be optimistic for their club? Regardless, do you know what I mean? I get that we're, 21 losses in the league, blah, blah, blah. It's done. It's over with. Do you know what I mean? Next year, 2-3 years from now, it'll be gone and forgotten. Like, I could sit here for the next 2 days and go, yeah, we're going to lose, and then sit there and we lose and go, well, told you we were going to lose. Why not be optimistic? And then if we lose, I can go, oh, well, we lost. But I'd rather be optimistic for the next 48 hours just for myself. Like, I'm not being optimistic for you. You do what you like. But, like, for me, I want to be optimistic for my team and I want to hope for the best. And if we shit ourselves, we shit ourselves. And people can throw mud and be like, oh, yeah, shitty Tottenham, da-da-da-da-da. And I'll be like, yeah, all right. But it could be different. So that's what I hope for. Do you know what I mean? So, you know, big up to everybody. I hope everyone enjoys the final. I hope they do it with their loved ones. I hope they do it with their dads, their mums, you know, whoever got them into Tottenham. Because the most important thing is we're all Tottenham fans. I, for one, absolutely want everybody here to witness us holding a cup. And just for the 24 to 48 hours afterwards, for us to just revel in joy. You know what I mean? Because I made a joke earlier that, you know, even if we lift that cup halfway through the ceremony, people are going to turn around and be like, he's got to go, though, isn't he? He's got to go. Because we're not going to be able to have a moment's peace, I tell you. But I just, I want nothing but a trophy for everybody watching. So big up. And thank you, Dan, for having me. I appreciate it.
No,
and thank you, Dan, as well. And I just want to say, Dan, I've thoroughly enjoyed being on your show, and thank you for the invite. And if all of you in the chat and those of you watching on playback, give the guy a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. Dan's grown his channel and there's good content on here. And I'm always willing, and Drew is as well. We spread ourselves everywhere, really, probably too far actually. And on all things Spurs, and so if you like the content, subscribe to the channel, give the videos a thumbs up, and leave a comment.
Appreciate it, guys. That's lovely comments. Brilliant. Thank you so much, Adrian and Drew. Look, let me give my final thoughts. I mean, we've got a show on Tuesday, which we're going to be getting into it again. It's a call-in show. Everyone's welcome to come in and join. Click the link and jump on and give your thoughts on this final. Now, I think we're playing against a Manchester United team who are not great. I think we've got a massive chance to win. And I will be disappointed if we don't win it, because I think we can beat them. We've beaten them 3 times this season already. Am I confident? No, I'm not confident, because I'm a Spurs fan and we don't win trophies.
Anything can happen.
Anything can happen. The thing is, if we can get the game plan right, our players are going to have a fantastic game, likes of Romero, Van der Ven, Basuma, Bentancur, so important. And it doesn't matter how we score a goal, as long as we get one somehow. We saw it against Bodo.
For those of you that are nervous, we bring our A game, we win.
Yeah.
We bring our A game, we win. There's not a doubt in my mind about that.
Possibly, obviously, I'm a bit worried about the attacking sense. We haven't got Maddison, Bergvall, Kulu, but we got the job done at Bodo Glimt. We scraped through against Frankfurt. It's going to be a game which is going to be tight. I don't think there's going to be a lot in it, but I can't call it. Because the only thing is, I think Man United, they've won trophies. They've got some players who can step up in finals. So that worries me. I think their manager is better than ours. But if taking all of that, I just think we can win it. We definitely can. And I'll be cheering on and just pray that we get a trophy. It's been 17 years and I don't care how we do it. We get it done and we have a great night.
When you look at the noise coming out from clubs, right?
Yeah.
And you look at Man United, it's Amran saying basically the squad's not good enough. This ain't happening. This, that, and the other, and all that, right?
Yeah.
That's not a good way to even come into approaching a final. At Spurs, Ange has always said, he's always took it his own back. Look, this is all on me, right? Players are behind me. We know that they've stepped out in the league form because their minds are focused on a cup. That's why the squad's held together at Spurs. If we'd been out of all the cup competitions earlier on, you'd have probably heard no end of disruptions and press conferences and all that shit at the club.
Yeah.
But the players, when players smell silverware, different ball game for them. They've got something to go down in history on, right? At Man United, all I've heard, unless I'm wrong, is sort of discontent or the manager not even happy. Well, that's not good, right? That's not good. Now, I don't mean to say they won't turn up, but when you balance things out, I think things are in our favour, and I think we're going to nick this 2-1.
I hope we do, guys. Look, massive game Wednesday. It's a European final. Yeah, this is it. It's all on Wednesday night. I mean, I'll be going down. I'm going down my local to watch it. I'm
going to the stadium. I paid the tenner for the ticket. Right?
You're going to the stadium, yeah? Yeah, it'll be fantastic.
I've got to be with my kind. I've got to be with them.
Yeah.
To celebrate or commiserate, I've got to be with them, right?
We've got to get a fight. We've got to get a cup, man. It's been far too long, and the season we've had, which has been goddamn awful, we're owed this. We deserve it. If you look at both clubs, Man United have won things recently. We haven't won nothing. It's our time to get it over the line. I don't care. I know Ange. I'm not a fan of Ange, but I'm just hoping that for that one night that we just get it and we get that trophy and we can all celebrate. And look, we'll worry about the summer when it comes to the summer, but let's just focus on Wednesday, and we just got to win it. We can't lose to this rubbish Man United team. We can't. It will be terrible. On that note, I want to big up to everybody who's joined. Big up to Nige. Big up to Elijah. Big up to Adrian. Big up to Drew. Please subscribe to their channels if you haven't. Big up to everybody in the chat who's watched the show tonight with all your comments. I appreciate it so much. Thank you. And look, as I said, we're back on Tuesday for just a call-in show.
We're back on Tuesday. I think every fan show out there's back on Tuesday. To be honest,
it's going to be a busy night. But look, guys, thank you so much for watching. Take care of yourselves.
Sleepless nights for many, right?
Yeah. Take care of yourselves, everyone, and hope you have a good week. It's getting close now, 3 days away, and we're all eyes on that final. Good night, everyone. Take care.
See you back.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.